Chapter 19. Baiya stared at Su Shaoling as if she could see the women around Su Jiran. From the woman who kidnapped her 3 years ago, to the pregnant woman last time, to Xiaoya, the assistant of Su Jiran. They all knew that she was Su Jiran's legal wife. However, time and time again, they pestered her and built their pleasure on hurting her. She hated such women very much. She was disgusted by them from the bottom of her heart. Didn't they know what they were doing was wrong? Su Shaoling, there is one thing you may not know. I also signed up. Baiya said indifferently. Su Shaoling widened her eyes and looked at Baiya in disbelief. You are also a doctor. Baiya smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. What do you think? I said that you are shameless. Can you be selected if you sign up? Su Shaoling said anxiously. In fact, it is a special case for her. Do you think she can sign up or not? Gu Lingqing said coldly. Although she knew that Gu Lingqing was lying, she still blushed slightly. Su Shaoling looked at Gu Lingqing in disbelief. Her eyes were stained with red blood. She was so angry that she felt that she had worked for nothing. She picked up the red wine on the table and was about to pour it on Gu Lingqing's face. Gu Lingqing was one step faster and grabbed her wrist. His cold eyes swept towards her like a knife. Su Shaoling was shocked by him. She loved him for being cold, domineering, and upright, but she also hated him for being bloodthirsty, heartless, and heartless. Just wait and see. I won't let her join the special forces. Su Shaoling pulled her hand out and left with hatred. Gu Lingqing looked at Su Shaoling and said in a deep voice. I will ask Colonel Shang to give you the application form tomorrow. Baiya was a little embarrassed. She just said that because she didn't know why she was so stupid. Was it too late to change the way he addressed her? To be fair, I don't think I'm suitable for a military position, Baiya said tactfully. But at the very least, you should keep your word. You're just saying it to me, so I'll just take it as a joke. But you and Su Shaoling also said the same thing, so it's very difficult for me to do. Gu Lingqing said simply and straightforwardly, not allowing any refusal at all. Baiya lowered his head and cut the steak subconsciously. If she didn't accept it now, it would seem like she was going back on her word, and it would also make him lose face in front of Su Shaoling. Gu Lingqing glanced at her. After you go in, you will be given the title of First Lieutenant, which is much better than an office director like you. I'm just worried that I'm not up to the task. Baiya put a small piece of steak into his mouth. From the way you saved people that day, you can do it. Gu Lingqing put her plate in front of her and took away the plate she cut. You. Baiya didn't understand. I think you cut it quite well. Baiya, did she cut it well, so she deserved to be recruited? Baiya was speechless. After the meal, Baiya walked to the cashier and took out her wallet from her bag. Gu Lingqing glanced at her wallet and asked indifferently, Are you going to treat me? Yes, I am, Baiya said with certainty. She asked the cashier, We are at table 8, how much is it? Table 8 has already been paid, the cashier said politely. Baiya looked at Gu Lingqing in surprise. I asked Lieutenant Shang to pay, so you owe me a meal now. Treat me another day, Gu Lingqing explained and walked towards the door. Another day. She had actually planned to never contact him again after buying him clothes today. It felt like she was being held in someone's hands. And she didn't like it. Her phone rang. Baiya saw that it was Lu Shuang's call and picked it up. Xiao Bai, where are you? I just finished the surgery and you have already left. I still have something to give you. Lu Shuang's eyes wandered around as she said. I am at Water Moon International. I have something to do, I will talk to you later, Baiya explained. What is it? Lu Shuang asked, but Baiya had already hung up. She had a cunning look in her eyes. She walked out of the door and headed towards Water Moon International. Baiya followed behind Gu Lingqing. He walked very slowly, as if he was waiting for her on purpose. The two of them kept a distance of 50 centimeters between them. Gu Lingqing was so good-looking that he was a scenery on the street. Many people looked in their direction. She felt quite awkward. After all, a man and a woman would always be in love. If you want to buy better clothes, you should go upstairs, Baiya reminded him. Okay, Gu Lingqing answered. He didn't seem to be in a hurry. He looked at the Turkish ice cream and asked, "Do you want some?" No need. Baiya was not used to accepting gifts from strange men. She had taken enough from him. Give me 3, Gu Lingqing said to the boss. Baiya looked around. There were only 2 of them. Were there other people? He held the first ice cream in his hand. He held the second ice cream in his hand. The boss handed the third ice cream to him. Gu Lingqing looked at Baiya with his deep eyes. Baiya saw that he had no hands to hold it, so she could only take it. Eat it quickly, it will melt soon, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baiya was speechless. She was really overbearing. Baiya held the ice cream and licked it. She watched him walk to the 2 children and squat down. He gave the 2 ice cream cones in his hand to the children. The children ran away happily. Baiya walked to his side. Are they your relatives? Gu Lingqing stood up and said in a low voice, No, I just don't eat sweets. Baiya looked at him expectantly. There were 100 horses galloping in her heart with their tongues out. Didn't you think that I don't eat sweets either? Baiya said with disdain. Gu Lingqing looked at her deeply, held her wrist, lowered his head, and took a bite of the ice cream at the place where she had eaten. I'll help you eat a little. Baiya looked at his handsome face. Inexplicably, his heart was beating fast. The part of her wrist that was held by him was like a cigarette butt. There was a blush on her face. Gu Lingqing gazed at her, his eyes filled with an indiscernible veil of charm and gentleness. He moved closer to her lips. Baiya felt his strong male hormones approaching. She was shocked and took a step back subconsciously. Why did she have a feeling that he wanted to kiss her? She must have thought wrongly. He was a high and mighty general. There were plenty of beautiful women throwing themselves at him. He didn't have to do that to her. He turned her face and rubbed the corner of her mouth with the pad of his thumb. Why are you eating like a child? You're taking the ice cream. Oh, really? I might not have noticed. Baiya turned around to avoid his ambiguous gaze. Chapter 20. Her cell phone rang. She saw that it was Lu Shuang's. She felt awkward. Let me take this. Gu Lingqing looked at her face that was as red as a peach. She cleared her throat and let go of her arm. Baiya walked to the side and picked up the call. What's wrong, Shuangniu? Baiya asked. She felt that her face was still hot. I saw that man. He's the one you spent the night with, right? He's so handsome. The more I look at him, the more handsome he looks. Did he want to kiss you just now? Lu Shuang said excitedly. No. Baiya's face turned even redder. She realized that Lu Shuang was nearby and looked around. Lu Shuang got out of the car and waved at Baiya. Wait a minute, I bought you a present. Lu Shuang ran towards her, glanced at Gu Lingqing, and pursed her lips into a smile. He stuffed the gift bag into Baiya's hand. Girl, use it well tonight. What is it? Baiya opened the bag in surprise. It was a woman's item at that time. Baiya felt like her brain was struck by lightning. She quickly closed the bag. I don't. She wanted to. Before she could finish her sentence, Lu Shuang had already run away. She's your friend? Gu Lingqing looked down at her and asked. Yes. Bai Ye answered. She lowered her head and her mind was still on the present she saw. What did she give you? Gu Lingqing glanced at her gift bag suspiciously. No, nothing. Let's go buy some clothes. Bai Ye's eyes flickered. She didn't want to say it. Luckily, Gu Lingqing didn't force her. He walked to the 5th floor of Water Moon International. The clothes on this floor were the best of the best. The better suits were worth more than 100,000. What color do you like? Bai Ye looked at the clothes in the cupboard and asked. Navy blue, beige. Bai Ye saw a very special suit that was being worn by the mannequin. It was uniquely tailored and had a beige base tone. The collar and sleeves were navy blue. It was very suitable for Gu Lingqing. Bai Ye held Gu Lingqing's arm, looked at the model and asked, Do you like this one? Gu Lingqing glanced at her hand, then shifted his gaze to her face. Bai Ye's skin was very white, like a pigeon's egg that had its skin peeled. It would break with a single blow, and there were no flaws at all. Her facial features were very pleasing to the eye. The more one looked at her, the more exquisite she looked. However, there was a hint of worry between her brows. Gu Lingqing gazed at her and replied, Yeah, I like it. Bai Ye didn't notice that his eyes were on her face. Then this one. Bai Ye let go of his hand and walked into the boutique. She asked the salesperson, Excuse me, do you have 190 yuan for this one? Yes. The salesperson handed the clothes to Gu Lingqing enthusiastically. This way, please. The salesperson led him into the changing room. Bai Ye looked at the clothes in the shop casually. From the corner of her eye, she saw Su Jiran walking towards her. She didn't want to see him for the time being. She felt disgusted when she thought of what he had done. It was better to have less trouble. She opened the door to the changing room. Gu Lingqing had just changed into a shirt and hadn't buttoned it up yet. His strong chest muscles, along with the elegant lines of his muscles, were chocolate-colored abdominal muscles. Bai Ye was a little dazed. Mr. Su. The salesperson greeted him warmly. Bai Ye frowned. She didn't have time to think. She walked into Gu Lingqing's changing room and inserted the knife. The changing room was very narrow. Both of them were inside, and their positions were very close to each other. What's wrong? Gu Lingqing looked down at her and asked. My husband is outside. Bai Ye explained. Gu Lingqing's eyes dimmed a little, and there was a hint of anger. Is walking with me embarrassing you? Gu Lingqing asked unhappily. Of course not. Gu Lingqing moved closer to her. Bai Ye was shocked. She put her hand against his chest. His chest temperature was very high. It was hot, rising and falling along with the beating of his heart. What's that? Gu Lingqing asked. His breath fell on her face. Bai Ye retracted her hand nervously. The paper bag fell on the ground and the things inside rolled out. Gu Lingqing looked at the ground. There were many popular discs and some very eye-catching posters on the ground. There was also a long box. Bai Ye saw it too. Her mind exploded. The temperature in the changing room rose rapidly. It was so hot that she almost couldn't breathe. No, it's not mine. Bai Ye explained awkwardly. Gu Lingqing's black lotus-like eyes were stained with a layer of blurriness. They were so deep that they were like bottomless whirlpools. He placed one hand on the wall beside her head. His ambiguous aura enveloped her whole body. He asked in a hoarse voice, Do you want to have an affair with me? Ha! Bai Ye looked up at him. Her heart was beating fast. She couldn't imagine that such flirtatious words would come out of his mouth. He lifted her chin and locked her red lips. There was a hint of blurriness. Isn't that why you hide? No, it's not, Baya explained. He squatted down in front of her and put the things on the ground into the paper bag. Baya wanted to find a hole in the ground. I'm confiscating this thing, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. He looked like an upright and outspoken chief. Baya smiled awkwardly. Take it, take it. It's not mine anyway. His eyes were misty. Are you sure? Baya didn't understand what he meant. Her mind was a little confused. She tried to recall if she had said anything wrong. She shouldn't have. Indeed, I don't need it. I. She realized that she was speaking incoherently. She was a little annoyed. Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth. He turned around and pulled out the knife. Don't. Baya pulled his hand nervously. He came back to his senses. His lips touched hers. Baya was shocked. She instinctively moved back to the corner of the wall. Just now, was it because she was pulling him? I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose, Baya explained. His handsome face moved closer to her slowly. Baya clenched her fists nervously. Today, Gu Lingqing gave her a different feeling. There was a sense of danger that was not inferior to Su Jiran. His hand reached for the back of her head. The strong aura of sunshine assaulted her. Her heart was beating so fast that she was about to suffocate. His nervous look made her look like a little bunny. It was so pitiful. Move aside. I'll get my clothes. This changing room is for you to hide in. Baya wanted to bang her head against the wall. What was she thinking just now? Was it because she hadn't had a man for a long time? So, under the masculine aura, her hormones were overflowing. She shouldn't be like this. Baya was very upset. Gu Lingqing was a man that she couldn't afford to offend. It was better to stay away from him. Chapter 21. Gu Lingqing took his clothes, quickly twisted the buttons, opened the door and went out. Su Jiran turned around and saw a set of clothes that was exactly the same as the one he was wearing. He smiled evilly and threw the clothes to the salesperson. I don't like clothes worn by others. Change one for me. The salesperson was slightly stunned. She looked at Gu Lingqing and blushed. Gu Lingqing's figure was better than that of a model. The clothes on him perfectly displayed all of his strong points. He had broad shoulders and a narrow waist. His whole body exuded the smell of hormones, which made people jealous. There was such a good-looking person in the world. Gu Lingqing walked past Su Jiran indifferently, ignoring his sarcasm. He handed the clothes to the cashier and said in a low voice, "Wrap it up for me." "Yes, sir." "Do you want to pay in cash or Alipay?" the salesperson asked shyly. Gu Lingqing handed the black card to the salesperson. Black card. This kind of card was not something that ordinary rich people could get. The person in front of him must be a powerful person. Su Jiran's eyes were misty and locked on Gu Lingqing. He smiled evilly. He took out the black card, held it between his index and middle fingers, and handed it to the salesperson lazily. Except for the one on that person's hand, wrap up all the 190 black cards for me. The salesperson's eyes lit up. Had she run into some dog shit luck today? A cool and handsome guy, full of abstinence. A charming handsome man that made people blush and their hearts beat faster. The point was that they were all rich people. Okay. The salesperson said excitedly. Gu Lingqing turned around and glanced at Su Jiran indifferently. He clearly saw the provocation in Su Jiran's eyes. There was no ripple or fluctuation in his calm eyes. He stood straight. Su Jiran felt that he was asking for trouble. He took out a golden business card from his wallet and put it on the counter. Send it to this address. Oh, okay. The salesperson took his business card respectfully. Su Jiran showed an evil smile again, turned around, pushed the door open and went out. Wow, so handsome. Is this man a star? His temperament is so good. All the salespeople in the room were infatuated. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened. They were as deep as the ocean. He took the clothes and walked to the door of the changing room. He knocked twice. He's gone. Come out. Baya walked out and looked at the receipt in his hand. How much? I said I would buy it. I've already paid. Let's talk about it later. Gu Lingqing looked at her deeply. Baya felt a little guilty being stared at like that. I just happened to have something on, so I'll be leaving first. I know what you like, I'll buy it for you next time. I'll send you back, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. For some reason, Baya felt that he was not in a good mood. It was almost the same as when they first met. She also felt uneasy. No need. I have an appointment with my little sister. Baya nodded at him and left as if he was fleeing. Gu Lingqing looked at her back view and furrowed his eyebrows. His sharp facial features became more and more defined. He called Su Changhao and used a commanding tone. Come out and have a drink with me. Su Changhao paused. I have an appointment with my friend at Water Cloud International. Do you want to come along? I'll be there in a while. Gu Lingqing hung up and walked out quickly. Baya walked out of Water Moon International. She walked alone on the road. Some things could not be solved by running away. She had to face what she had to face. She called Su Jiran. Su Jiran picked up the call. There was silence on the other side. I want to have a calm talk with you. Are you free? Baya asked coldly. I'm at your house. Su Jiran hung up the phone after he said that. Baya recalled what happened earlier and felt a lingering fear in her heart. She bought a pepper spray at the pharmacy before going back. Su Jiran sat on the sofa. He was playing with his phone with his long index and middle fingers. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised. He seemed to be in a good mood. She sat opposite him. She accidentally saw the screen where he was chatting with someone. Ruthless man, my wife didn't agree at first, but she agreed when she heard that you were coming. Brother Jia, you are so charming. Unruly man, besides your family, who else is coming? Ruthless man, boldly is coming with his new favorite. She is a movie star with a hot body. Brother Jia, will your wife be coming too? Su Jiran looked at Baya. Baya looked away. She knew that unruly man was Su Jiran's online nickname. Ruthless man was probably his friend. We are going to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. Are you free? Baya asked softly. A hint of anger flashed past Su Jiran's eyes. He put away his phone and said, accompany me to a place tonight. Where? Baya was on guard. You'll know when you get there. I don't want to go, Baya rejected him directly. Su Jiran raised the corner of his mouth. Don't you want to get what you want? You know, if you piss me off, you will have a miserable life in the future. You will lose your job as a doctor if I say you have it. Baya couldn't help but feel disgusted with him. How much water must have gone into her brain to have fallen for such a filthy person like him? Why are you bringing me there tonight? Baya asked suspiciously and narrowed her eyes. She wanted to weigh the situation and assess the situation. To meet up with Zhang Zi and the others. Zhang Zi's online nickname is Ruthless Man. They really want to meet you, Su Jiran said casually. We are going to get a divorce. There is no need for me to meet your friends. It will be awkward for us to meet them in the future, won't it? Baiye stood up. I don't know if it will be awkward in the future, but if you don't go this time, it will make me feel awkward. You know the consequences of offending me. Go change your clothes and let's go, Su Jiran said firmly. You will agree to the divorce after we get there, right? Baiye asked coldly. Su Jiran raised his chin arrogantly and looked at her in disdain. He smirked and said, What do you think is the reason why I won't get a divorce? I know. I'll leave after changing. Baiye entered the room and locked the door. She did not like Su Jiran's friends. They were the same as Su Jiran. They hunted women by nature and exuded an air of extravagance from head to toe. It made her feel uncomfortable. She purposely wore a pair of jeans, running shoes and a conservative plaid shirt. Her hair was tied up in an old-fashioned bun and she wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses. She was as old-fashioned as she could be. After today, she could say goodbye to those scumbags. When Baiye came out of the room, Su Jiran frowned unhappily. Are you from the countryside? Why are you dressed so old-fashioned? What's wrong? I've always been this old-fashioned, Baiye said indifferently. There was a hint of provocation in her eyes. Su Jiran shrugged and smiled wickedly. Nothing much. It's quite nice to dress like this. It's very special and looks quite pure. Baiye did not like the look in his eyes. It was as if he was treating her as prey. It was very dangerous. Chapter 22. As Baiye drove, she glanced at Su Jiran in the rearview mirror. He was texting with his head down. One side of his hair fell down, covering half of his eyes and leaving a shadow on the bridge of his nose. To be fair, this man was not bad-looking. He was full of charm, and women would be moved by his gestures. Even if he did not have the money and power behind him, with his temperament and looks, many girls would still like him. She would not be one of those girls. He looked like heaven, but he was actually hell. Su Jiran glanced at Baiye and smiled. His voice softened a little. What are you looking at? Don't look at me with such an infatuated gaze every time. I will vomit. Baiye looked away and looked straight ahead. Su Jiran could always make people feel uncomfortable. Forget it. She was too lazy to explain. She would quickly get a divorce tomorrow and live separately. Su Jiran's mood improved a little, and he replied to the message. She is already on her way, Su Jiran replied. That's great. My wife has been waiting for Brother Jia for a long time. She will give Brother Jia a big surprise later, Zhang Xi said excitedly. Su Jiran did not reply. He looked at Baiye gloomily. She had put her hair up, revealing her fair neck. The line at the back of her neck was very beautiful. He seemed to be reluctant to let Zhang Xi and the others play with her. Behave well tonight, Su Jiran said meaningfully. If she behaved well, he might let her off. He had asked her to attend this gathering to scare her. Who asked her to be so disobedient? Half an hour later, the car stopped at the entrance of the Room of Clouds and Water. Su Jiran got out of the back seat first. Without looking at her, he ordered, "Follow me." Baiye clutched her bag tightly and followed him to the door of room 302. He knocked on the door using the Su family's password. He knocked twice, paused, knocked 3 times, paused again, and knocked again. The door opened. Baiye saw a young and beautiful woman wearing a strange outfit that looked like a swimsuit. She had a headband with rabbit ears and a rabbit tail at the back of the swimsuit. She blushed and smiled sweetly at Su Jiran. "Brother Jia, you're here. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Baiye's heart skipped a beat. He had a strange feeling. "Brother Jia," she's my wife. Isn't she pretty? Zhang Zi gasped. Baiyi subconsciously looked at Zhang Zi. He was carrying a girl. The girl looked very familiar. She was a 7th or 8th tier actress called Song something. There was a man standing behind the girl. He seemed to be Su Jiran's friend, but she couldn't name him. No matter how stupid he was, he knew what they were doing. Baiyi turned around, wanting to leave. Su Jiran held her hand, pushed her into the house, and locked the door. Baiyi slapped Su Jiran's face. She was so angry that her eyes were bloodshot. You're so disgusting. Su Jiran's eyes flashed sharply. He grabbed Baiyi's wrist. You should learn how to please other women. Let me out. Baiyi pulled her hand out. He pushed hard, and Baiyi was pushed onto the sofa. Before she could get up, he sat beside her and clamped her arm. With a livid face, he ordered Xiaonu, show her what a woman should do to make a man like her. Yes, brother Jia. The charming woman smiled and stood in front of Su Jiran. She touched his face. Baiyi turned her face away. She felt like she was about to vomit. Her stomach churned uncomfortably, and she covered her mouth. Su Jiran clamped her chin and turned her to face him smugly. Do you know why I don't like you now? Su Jiran's lips curled into an evil smile, and his tone was disdainful. Thank you for not liking me. Hurry up and leave. I don't belong to the same world as people like you, Baiyi said coldly. Su Jiran gritted his teeth. He was even more displeased. He flung Baiyi's chin away and said coldly, Zhang Zi, she's yours. You can do whatever you want tonight. Okay. Thank you, brother Jia, Zhang Zi said excitedly. Baiyi looked at him. She couldn't help but feel disgusted. She ran to the washroom and vomited. Su Jiran stared at Baiyi, his eyes sharp. Zhang Zi also ran to the washroom and shouted, Sister-in-law, you're so beautiful. I've wanted to have you since the first day I saw you. Baiyi felt disgusted, and her hair stood on end. She couldn't help but shiver. Su Jiran was a scumbag. His friends were indeed scumbags. She looked at Su Jiran and met his sharp gaze. The fear in her eyes became clear. The more afraid she was, the more she couldn't change the situation. She wanted to escape. Baiyi lowered her head and looked at Zhang Zi. Kneel. Zhang Zi was stunned, and he really did kneel. Baiyi frowned and kicked Zhang Zi away. Zhang Zi looked at Baiyi with a teasing expression. So, sister-in-law has a special hobby. Do you have rope and tape? Baiyi asked patiently. Sister-in-law, this is. Zhang Zi was stunned. Obviously, he didn't expect the usually elegant Baiyi to behave like this. Don't you want it? Baiyi asked. Yes. Yes, Zhang Zi said cheekily. Baiyi walked into the room next door. Su Jiran frowned, feeling a little annoyed. Zhang Zi sneakily took the tools and entered the room. Baiyi retracted her gaze from the window. They were on the 3rd floor, 6 meters above the ground. Even if she fell from the 3rd floor, she probably wouldn't die. Sister-in-law, I brought you what you wanted. Zhang Zi looked at Baiyi and handed her the rope and tape. Baiyi took the tools from Zhang Zi and glanced at the chair. Sit down. Hearing this, Zhang Zi took the opportunity to sit down. Baiyi tied him up a few times to make sure he couldn't break free. Sister-in-law, this is a little tight. Zhang Zi struggled a few times, but he couldn't break free. That's right. What a scumbag. Baiyi felt that talking to him was disgusting, so she simply sealed his mouth, opened the window, and climbed out of it. Zhang Zi saw that Baiyi was leaving and groaned. Chapter 23. Seems like Zhang Zi is having a lot of fun. Mr. Chen was tempted. After Zhang Zi, it should be his turn. Bai Ye was a stunning beauty. She was cold, arrogant, and not easy to get close to. He had thoughts about her for a long time. This was a chance for him to get intimate with her. He had brought the medicine that could last for a long time. He wanted to enjoy himself to the fullest this time. It did not matter if he did not want to move for the next 2 days. If he missed this opportunity, it would probably be difficult for him to be with Bai Ye again. Su Jiran glanced at Mr. Chen. Although Mr. Chen was moving vigorously, his eyes were fixed on the room that Bai Ye was in. He was annoyed. His wife was being coveted, and he was not happy. He pushed Xiaonu away and walked towards Bai Ye's room. Bai Ye was still hanging on the window. She wanted to step on the air conditioner shelf on the second floor, but there was a little distance. The person on the second floor opened the window. "Beauty, do you need help?" A man's voice sounded. Bai Ye was afraid to meet a scumbag like Zhang Zi again, so she did not dare to answer. She saw someone knocking on the door and was scared. "Yes, thank you." Su Changhao carried a chair to the window, stepped on it, and carried Bai Ye in. He said in surprise, "It's you. You know me." Bai Ye was suspicious. Gu Lingqing heard Bai Ye's voice and looked up at Bai Ye. "Why are you here?" Bai Ye was shocked to hear Gu Lingqing's voice. However, seeing that it was him, she felt a lot more at ease. It's a long story. Bai Ye was ashamed to say it. After this incident, she and Su Jiran really couldn't go on any further. Su Changhao looked at Gu Lingqing, then at Bai Ye. Gu Lingqing came in, drank, asked him, and said nothing. He rarely felt so depressed. It probably had something to do with Bai Ye. "Did you drink?" Su Changhao asked Bai Ye. Bai Ye did not understand why Su Changhao asked that, but he still answered honestly, "No." "Why?" "You came just in time." "We all drank." Lingqing drank the most. "He didn't bring anyone with him today." "Please send him back," Su Changhao said with a smile. Bai Ye looked at Gu Lingqing, feeling a little confused. If she refused, it would seem mean. After all, they had just saved her life. If she didn't reject him, her heart would twist again. She didn't want to have too much interaction with Gu Lingqing. "Let's go. I have something to do." Gu Lingqing stood up and handed the car key to Bai Ye. Bai Ye took the key from him and realized what a stupid thing he had done. In the car no one spoke. It was very quiet. Gu Lingqing sat in the back seat. His eyes were fixed on Bai Ye in the rearview mirror. The flickering light from the street lamp dyed his dark eyes. There seemed to be a ferocious beast in it. "Bai Ye," Gu Lingqing shouted. He suddenly called out. Bai Ye was shocked. "Yes. I remember you owe me a meal, right?" Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. "Oh, yes. There's a supermarket in front. Go buy some groceries. I haven't had dinner yet." Gu Lingqing used a commanding tone. He did not allow anyone to reject him. Bai Ye thought that he had to pay back what he owed, so he did not reject him. "What do you want to eat?" Bai Ye asked softly. "Will you give me whatever I want to eat?" Gu Lingqing asked back. His tone was very strange. It was easy to misunderstand. Bai Ye's face was slightly red. "That depends on whether the supermarket sells it or not." Gu Lingqing was a little annoyed. He drank too much just now. So, he was talking nonsense. "Do what you're good at." Gu Lingqing forced himself to calm down. Soon, they arrived at the supermarket. Bai Ye pushed the cart to the food section. Gu Lingqing put his hand on the cart gently. He did not say anything. From the looks of it, they looked like a young couple. Baya put carrots, onions, meat slices, winter gourd, spare ribs, and eggs on the cart. She pushed the cart to the seafood section. It's lobster season now. Lobster is what I'm best at. Do you want some? Baya asked. Yes. He made this sound from his throat. A trace of uneasiness flashed in his secretive eyes. Baya's phone rang. She saw that it was Su Jiran's call. She frowned. She also had something to tell him. I'll take this. She walked to the side and answered. Where is it? Su Jiran asked impatiently as he drove. I've had enough of this kind of life. When are you going to divorce? Baya was even more impatient. You were the one who insisted on marrying me. Now you want a divorce. I'm sorry. I haven't played enough with you. Su Jiran hung up the phone angrily. Baya had the urge to smash the phone. Her fingernails were white as she held the phone. You want a divorce? Gu Lingqing stood next to her without her knowing. Baya paused. It was always embarrassing to be seen by others with her unbearable family affairs. Yes. She answered. She did not want to say more. She went to the seafood section to choose lobsters. Gu Lingqing looked at her delicate back. His mood, which had been gloomy for the whole evening, improved a little. When they walked to the queue, there were especially many people. It was the golden time to cook dinner and buy groceries. They had already lined up more than 20. Baya looked at the onions and thought that it would take a long time for them to get their turn. She said to Gu Lingqing, you queue here. I'll go and get a box of chewing gum. Yes. Gu Lingqing nodded. Baya turned around to look for the chewing gum. Gu Lingqing saw that there were too many people, so he made a phone call. I'm now queuing at the supermarket under Shuiyu International. There are too many people. Call someone to deal with it. Baya came over with the chewing gum. Gu Lingqing stood at the cashier. There was no one behind him. Baya walked over in surprise. She saw that the other cashiers were all people. Why don't they come here to pay? Gu Lingqing put the chewing gum in her hand into the plastic bag. There's no need to pay here. He took the bag and went out. Baya followed and asked suspiciously, did you abuse your military power? No, this supermarket is owned by my family. Baya, Gu Lingqing opened the trunk and put the plastic bag in. Baya saw that the supplies that Lu Shuang bought for her were also placed in the trunk. She blushed. She quickly went to get the car. This time, Gu Lingqing did not sit in the back seat, but in the front passenger seat. Help me fasten the seatbelt, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baya felt that his request made her feel uneasy. Maybe he was used to being served by the orderlies. She got closer to him and pulled the seatbelt over. Gu Lingqing looked at her pink face, and his breath fell on her face. It was the smell of alcohol that had not dissipated. It had a charming smell. Baya looked up at him. He reached out and pressed the back of her head. His lips fell on hers. Baya widened her eyes and stepped back. However, his hand was too strong. She could not retreat at all. Chapter 24. Wild, domineering, raging, with a strong sense of male hormones, went straight to her brain. In the past, she had thought that Gu Lingqing's feelings for her were just wishful thinking. But what about now? He had thoughts about her. Baya's heart was beating so fast that it felt like it was going to jump out of her throat. She pushed Gu Lingqing's shoulder. She was almost out of oxygen, and her brain was buzzing and getting hotter. After a long time, he let go of her. His deep eyes reflected the two of her. Baya slapped his face casually. He was a soldier, and his speed was unparalleled. He grabbed her wrist in an instant. Baya was angry and said in a heavy tone, "Do you think I'm a loose woman? So I can let men kiss me without feeling ashamed?" "I'm not a loose man," Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baya's heart trembled. She couldn't figure out what Gu Lingqing meant. She just felt that this sentence was too ambiguous and had a strong sense of invasion. "You're drunk." "I'm a married woman." Baya's voice was trembling. She immediately drew a line between them. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened and he let go of her hand. He closed his eyes and leaned against the chair, looking a little gloomy. Drive. How could she dare to drive when he was like this? "I'm not going." Baya was afraid of touching him and pushed the door open. "Before I change my mind, you'd better listen to me. I can't promise you what will happen if you disobey me." Gu Lingqing looked at her. His deep eyes, sharp eyebrows, and cold expression displayed his boldness and oppressive aura. He wasn't joking with her. Baya was a little broken under his pressure. He was a big leader, and she was a small doctor. She didn't dare to provoke him. "What are you doing?" Baya closed the door sullenly. "I also want to know what I want to do," Gu Lingqing said irritably. He turned his face away and closed his eyes again to rest. His chest heaved up and down, showing his unstable heart, but it was suppressed by his maturity and experience. Baya glanced at Gu Lingqing. They were both mature men and women. They understood the things between men and women. Sometimes, just two lonely souls snuggling up to each other. She didn't want to be like Su Jiran. Therefore, he had always been strict with himself and maintained his bottom line. He would not play with his emotions, let alone his body. Baya drove his car into his military base. Gu Lingqing opened his eyes. In his deep eyes, there was no end to them. "Keep driving straight, turn at the third intersection, and keep driving for 1 kilometer." Baya followed his instructions, and after a while, she heard the door of his apartment. In fact, she knew him. Last time she came here, it was Lieutenant Colonel Shang who sent her back. Seeing Gu Lingqing's car coming over, Lieutenant Colonel Shang immediately ran over and opened the door respectfully. Gu Lingqing stepped out of the car first. Baya got out of the car by herself. He didn't even look at Baya, walked into the room, and ordered, "Give me the hangover medicine." Baya felt that he was in a bad mood, which made her feel a little depressed. This man was very strange. She opened the trunk and took out the plastic bag. Lieutenant Colonel Shang took it. Baya forgot to take a look at the gift Lu Shuang gave her. She didn't take it, but closed the trunk door. She went straight into the kitchen. Gu Lingqing finished drinking the hangover soup. Looking at her busy figure, his eyes became deeper. He picked up his book and started reading, but his mind was not on the book at all. The feeling of kissing her was very good. If it wasn't for her reluctance, he would have done it with her in the car. He was a man of abstinence. He couldn't understand why he had such a strong urge toward her. An hour passed in a state of confusion. The rich aroma of food wafted out from the kitchen. Gu Lingqing put down his book and walked into the kitchen. "It will be a while before we can eat," Baya explained. He glanced at the table. The vegetables were all washed, cut, and stewed. The smell of the crayfish was especially strong. "Do you cook often?" Gu Lingqing asked. "I used to do it when I lived with my mother." His eyes gradually narrowed, and he was faintly displeased. "Don't you cook for your husband?" "He doesn't eat what I cook," she said calmly. Thinking of Su Jiran saying that he wouldn't eat what he cooked, she felt a flash of pain in her heart. It wasn't that she still loved him, but she just felt that she wasn't worth it. "He hasn't eaten it before." Gu Lingqing's eyes gradually relaxed. Yes, Bai Ye replied and scooped out the crayfish. The other dishes will have to wait for a while. You can eat the crayfish first. Bai Ye carried the crayfish, passed by him, and placed it on the table. You seem to be saying that you want to eat crayfish, right? Gu Lingqing asked calmly. There should be a lot of people who like to eat it. Bai Ye passed him again and went back to the kitchen. When she came out with the dishes, she saw that Gu Lingqing had already peeled a lot of crayfish. But he didn't eat it. He placed the crayfish neatly on the plate, and the plate was filled with soup. When she came out, he handed the plate to her and said in a low voice, I'm allergic to crayfish. You eat it. Bai Ye, she was touched. He was the first man who was willing to peel crayfish for her. But she was also a rational person. She was a married woman, and she had no future with an outstanding general with a bright future. She served the dishes and helped Gu Lingqing scoop some rice. He lowered his head to eat and didn't say anything else. She also ate and didn't touch the crayfish he peeled. Gu Lingqing glanced at her, and his eyes were filled with anger. Are you eating or not? Bai Ye paused and found an excuse. I like to peel and eat by myself. He picked up a piece of crayfish and put it in his mouth. Bai Ye was a little surprised. Wasn't he allergic to crayfish? He pressed the back of her head and fed the crayfish into her mouth. Bai Ye's heart was beating wildly. She held the crayfish in her mouth, not knowing whether to eat it or spit it out. Gu Lingqing let go of her and looked at her red lips. If you want me to feed you like this, you can choose not to eat it. Bai Ye sat there awkwardly. He, who was giving orders, ate calmly. She could only finish the crayfish in her stomach and look at him. He glanced at her. She quickly picked up a crayfish and put it in her mouth. Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth. He seemed to be smiling. Am I that scary? Gu Lingqing asked. Hee hee. Bai Ye laughed. Chief, what do you think? Eat slowly, I'll peel more for you. It's all for you to eat. Gu Lingqing's tone became a little gentler. Bai Ye, do you, like me? Bai Ye didn't like to play around and asked directly. Chapter 25. So what if I like him? So what if I don't like him? Gu Lingqing asked meaningfully. I'm a married woman. I don't want to step on the bottom line of morality. I'm not someone who wants to play with people's feelings. I believe that there are many people who like him. He doesn't need to walk on the edge of a knife, Bai Ye answered seriously. Gu Lingqing looked at her deeply. His dark eyes seemed calm, but there was a fierce undercurrent in them. Walking on the edge of a knife, interesting. Gu Lingqing said ambiguously and curled up the corner of his mouth. Plus, I just got to know him. We haven't met many times. Maybe we have a good impression of each other, but it's better to stop. Bai Ye explained. She was very clear and straightforward. She believed that Gu Lingqing was a smart person and could understand what she meant. Gu Lingqing glanced at her bowl and chopsticks. Let's eat. Bai Ye lowered her head to eat. The door was pushed open. Gu Tianhang stood at the door and looked at Bai Ye sternly. Dad, why are you here? Gu Lingqing frowned slightly. Gu Tianhang walked over and threw the documents on the table. You've been too ridiculous recently. The military doctor of the special forces must be transferred from the military. How can ordinary doctors be qualified? Gu Tianhang questioned. This is my business. You seem to be overstepping your bounds. Gu Lingqing put down his chopsticks and leaned on the chair. Gu Tianhang didn't look at Bai Ye. He looked at Gu Lingqing sternly and asked, Who is she? Who allowed you to bring a dubious woman to the military? A sharp light shot out from Gu Lingqing's eyes. He stood up, his whole body cold, and his voice was very low. Reporting to the Vice President, this is my special military region, not your parliament, and definitely not your CIA. If you think I've neglected my duty, you can report it. Don't interfere in my private life. If there's nothing else, I won't see you out. What kind of tone is that? If she's a spy or sent by my political enemies, you're ruining your future. Gu Tianhang was so angry that his teeth itched. If she is, you can send me to the military court to await the country's punishment. You don't have to care about our father-son relationship. But before she is, you have no right to interfere with my relationship with anyone, Gu Lingqing said indifferently. You are destroying your own future. That's also my business. Feeling helpless, Gu Tianhang ordered domineeringly, you must attend tomorrow's banquet. Otherwise, I'll announce to the media on Tuesday that Su Shaoling is Gu Lingqing's fiancée, the acknowledged daughter-in-law of the Liu family. Do you think this is interesting? Gu Lingqing said arrogantly. He loathed the arranged life. Of course. I'm doing this for your own good, Gu Tianhang said in a professional manner. He looked at Bai Ye and said sternly, don't ever step into the military area again. This is not a place you can come to. Even if you want to be despicable, you'd better know your place first. Bai Ye stood up. He naturally felt uncomfortable being scolded like that. She walked towards the door. Gu Lingqing held her arm and looked at Gu Tianhang coldly. She is a friend I invited. You cannot understand, but please respect her. Respect. Gu Tianhang took out a gun and pointed it at Gu Lingqing's head. Just because you disobeyed your father, I can kill you. Gu Lingqing took a step forward and put his forehead against the muzzle of the gun. He was fearless and looked death calmly. The gun was already on the trigger. Gu Tianhang could not bring himself to do this, so he put away the gun. Gu Lingqing was stubborn and fearful. The atmosphere was so weird that it was scary. Bai Ye's heart jumped to her throat. I really should go. My husband is still waiting for me at home. Bai Ye pried Gu Lingqing's hand away and bowed to Gu Lingqing. Thank you for risking your life to save me. I was rude. She then turned to Gu Tianhang, bowed and explained, please don't misunderstand the chief. I think the army and the people are a family. Last time, the chief saved me in the hostage case. I want to cook a meal to thank him. If you don't like it, I won't step into this place again. You guys take your time. I'll leave first. She could be considered to have fled in panic, not even turning her head back. Is she here to thank you? A married woman. After hearing Bai Ye's explanation, Gu Tianhang was relieved. He took the opportunity to put away the gun and find a way out of this embarrassing situation. Gu Lingqing did not reply. She called, Lieutenant Colonel Shang. Lieutenant Colonel Shang came in and nodded in fear. Send her back. Gu Lingqing ordered. Yes. As soon as Bai Ye walked to the door, Lieutenant Colonel Shang rushed out. Miss Bai, wait. The chief asked me to send you back. There's no need. I'll take a taxi back myself. Bai Ye refused. I also have something to talk to Miss Gu about, Lieutenant Colonel Shang said. What? Let's talk in the car. Lieutenant Colonel Shang opened the car door. Bai Ye could only get into Lieutenant Colonel Shang's car. Lieutenant Colonel Shang looked at Bai Ye in the rearview mirror politely. I think the chief likes you. Lieutenant Colonel Shang said bluntly. Bai Ye blushed. We're not suitable for each other. If other women kissed the chief, he would definitely push them away. I've been with him for 3 years. He is famous for not being close to women. But that night when you were drunk and kissed the chief, he didn't push you away, Lieutenant Colonel Shang explained. Baiya looked at Lieutenant Colonel Xiang in shock. That night, she was drunk and didn't remember anything when she woke up. She asked him what she said and what she did. He said nothing. It turned out that she kissed him. Baiya felt very uncomfortable. Her chest was moving up and down violently. Well, I'm married. I have a husband. Married? Lieutenant Colonel Xiang was a little surprised. He smiled awkwardly. Having sex outside of marriage would stain the chief's bright political future. He was really being nosy this time. He felt that he had made a mistake. Ha ha ha, I'm just talking nonsense. Our chief has a woman he loves. That night, he must have seen that you were drunk and didn't make a fuss about it. Sometimes, our chief is too embarrassed to reject girls who don't know the truth. I was thinking too much. Ha ha ha. Lieutenant Colonel Xiang immediately changed his words. Baiya paused for a moment. So he had a woman he loved. Then his feelings for her might be the passion between a mature man and a woman. It came quickly and left quickly. Her beating heart calmed down quietly. One of them was in heaven and the other was on earth. It was impossible for them to be friends. Lieutenant Colonel Xiang looked at Baiya leaning against the window. He cleared his throat and asked, "Where are you going?" Baiya came back to her senses. "Send me to the hospital." Her phone rang. Baiya saw that it was an unfamiliar number. She picked it up. "Thank you for just now." Gu Lingqing's voice came from the other end of the phone. Baiya was a little nervous when she received his call. "Well, I'm just being honest. You did save me. I treated you to a meal to thank you. You want to deny that you saved my life just because of a meal?" Gu Lingqing said with a chuckle. His tone was charming and ambiguous. Chapter 26. She felt that Gu Lingqing was taking advantage of her. She was just being polite. "Didn't I put myself in danger because I helped you?" Baiya said softly. "Ha!" Gu Lingqing chuckled, and his tone became much gentler. "I won't force you. Have a good rest." Baiya had a strange feeling. He felt like a warm man on the phone, which was different from when they met. "You have a good rest too. I'm hanging up." Baiya hung up the phone after she finished speaking. Lieutenant Colonel Xiang glanced at Baiya and didn't say anything. He sent Baiya back to the hospital. When he returned to the military, he received a call from the chief. "Did she go home?" Gu Lingqing asked. "No, she said she was sent to the hospital," Lieutenant Colonel Xiang reported truthfully. "Okay. Got it." Gu Lingqing hung up the phone. It was better for her to go back to the hospital than to go home. At 8:00 the next morning, Lu Shuang rushed to Baiya's office. "Baiya, that B*TCH is suing you. The hospital wants to punish you." "I heard that she wants you to be fired," Lu Shuang said worriedly. "The B*TCH you're talking about is the pregnant woman who was sent here the other day?" Baiya asked suspiciously. "Yes. Why did you cut her down there?" "Her baby's umbilical cord is around her neck. If I don't cut her, the baby will suffocate. I didn't do anything wrong. Why would the hospital punish me?" Baiya said confidently. "I heard that someone from above pressured me. I'll go and ask later." "Who did it? Could it be Su Jiran?" "But he has no reason to do so." A light flashed in Baiya's eyes. "It should be her. She called Su Jiran. Isn't it too late to think of me now?" Su Jiran said in a strange tone. "What exactly do you want?" Baiya asked anxiously. "I've said it before. If you piss me off, it won't do you any good. Now I'll give you an hour to go home. If it's more than an hour, you'll have to bear the consequences. Su Jiran hung up the phone without giving her a chance to speak. What did he say? Lu Shuang asked with concern. Let me go back. I will ask the director for leave, Baiya said helplessly. Why bother with him? Let him eat sh*t, Lu Shuang said angrily. He's from the health bureau. The hospital won't offend him. I'll go. Things have to be resolved eventually. I'll contact him later. Baiya packed his things and went back. She arrived home. Su Jiran crossed his legs and lay lazily on the sofa. He saw Baiya coming back. He smirked and looked at his watch. 48 o'clock, very punctual. Good boy. He picked up a paper bag from his feet and threw it on the coffee table as if he was giving alms. This is your reward. See if you like it. Su Jiran, what do you want? You're already free. Why do you have to make life difficult for me? Once I regret the divorce, you'll only have endless troubles. Baiya tried to reason with him. When I'm tired of you, I'll get a divorce. But I have to be the one to ask for a divorce. You don't have the right, he said arrogantly. He took out a jewelry box and handed it to her. Put it on. She stood still and looked at the interest in Su Jiran's eyes. Then she took the jewelry box in annoyance. Su Jiran was a hunter. What he liked most was to watch his prey struggle and then enjoy the fun of tracking and playing with it. Hunters were ruthless, focused, and wild. However, hunters would not only be interested in one prey. Baiya opened the box and glanced at a pair of platinum diamond earrings. She closed the box and threw it on the coffee table. You don't like it? Su Jiran stared at her, and there was a hint of anger in his charming eyes. You know I don't like to wear these things. As a doctor, I can't wear them. But I'll treasure them, thank you, she said coldly. He picked up the earrings, pinched her ear domineeringly, and inserted them into her ear without allowing her to refuse. She had never worn them after she became a doctor. There was a stinging pain on her ear. She touched her ear and felt wet blood on it. She glared at Su Jiran in annoyance. If she had any feelings for him before, it would have been exhausted long ago. Su Jiran's lips curled up, but there was no smile in his charming eyes. He did not have any tender feelings for the fairer sex. He turned her face and forcefully inserted the other earring into her ear. Baiya clenched her fists and suppressed the anger in her heart. A country bumpkin will always be a country bumpkin. Even if you wear gold and silver, you still look like a country bumpkin, Su Jiran said unhappily. As long as you sign the divorce agreement, I, a country bumpkin who annoys you, can leave without stopping, Baiya said coldly. Su Jiran's displeasure deepened, and he glanced at another bag next to the sofa. There's a pair of shoes in there. Change into the clothes on the coffee table. Don't embarrass me. I'll wait for you in the car downstairs. See you in 10 minutes. He got up and walked outside. Baiya was on the verge of anger. She took a piece of paper and wiped the blood on her ear. She opened the gift bag and saw a pink spaghetti strap skirt and a pair of red high heels in the paper bag. She threw the earrings into the box and closed it. She carried the 2 gift bags and went out. Su Jiran's car was parked at the entrance of the neighborhood. He was texting, and the corners of his mouth curled up. Baiya was too familiar with that smile. There must be another prey that was about to fall into his trap. Baiya opened the car door and threw the gift bag inside. Su Jiran. If you think that I'm embarrassing, you don't have to take me out. Baiya slammed the car door. Su Jiran's eyes narrowed, and he narrowed them. You're challenging my patience. If you don't have patience, then don't see each other. Are you trying to be cheap? Baiya said bluntly. A murderous look flashed in Su Jiran's eyes. He got out of the car, grabbed her hand, and threw her into the back seat. He sat next to her, looked ahead coldly, and ordered the chauffeur, "Drive to the airport." "I don't want to go to the airport." "What are you playing at?" Baiya was on guard. Su Jiran held her chin and turned her so that he was facing her. "You'd better behave now. Otherwise, I might get interested and want you." Su Jiran warned coldly. Baiya looked at the coldness in his eyes. Su Jiran was a beast. She absolutely believed that he would do such a thing. Baiya lowered her eyes. Su Jiran let go of her when he saw that she had become docile. Baiya looked out of the window. She really did not understand Su Jiran. She actually knew that Su Jiran did not love her, but why did he refuse to divorce her? He was a person who never made a loss. Could it be that he was planning something else? Su Jiran's phone rang. "Minister Su, Governor Xing did not come to pick you up." "The one who came to pick you up was his wife, Mrs. Xing," Su Jiran's subordinate reported. "Well, has everything been arranged?" Su Jiran asked with a smile. Chapter 27. Yes. All the cameras have been cut off. "Saudi Arabia is now at the airport," Su Jiran's subordinate said. Baiya was surprised. What did Su Jiran mean by arrangement? She had a feeling that a conspiracy was approaching. However, before she could figure it out, Su Jiran pulled her out of the car in a domineering manner. She walked toward the arrival gate. A few girls walked toward them. One of them was wearing an elegant blue floral dress. Her long hair fluttered in the wind. She looked like a beautiful woman from ancient times. She had an elegant temperament and was elegant and refined. A slight smile from her was enough to topple a city. Upon closer inspection, she looked somewhat similar to Baiya. Baiya was slightly surprised when she saw her. She was Auntie Chang's daughter, Xing Jinyan, her half-sister. This younger sister was only born 3 hours later than her. The two women gave birth at the same time. Xing Jinyan's mother was lying in the hospital, with more than a dozen doctors and nurses looking after her. Her mother, on the other hand, was rolling on the ground, screaming at the empty house. 3 masked people rushed out of the crowd. Baiya came to her senses. They each held a gun, a knife, and a handkerchief in their hands. They quickly walked toward Xing Jinyan. Xing Jinyan looked at the masked people in fear and stayed where she was. Su Jiran walked over with an evil smile. She put her arm around Baiya's shoulder, and a bloodthirsty cruelty flashed in her eyes. She said to Baiya, "Xing Jinyan, long time no see." Baiya's eyes widened in surprise. Why did Su Jiran call her that? The 3 masked people were also slightly surprised. They paused for 3 seconds. "Why didn't the governor come to pick you up?" Su Jiran said to Baiya. The masked people thought that Baiya was Xing Jinyan, so they changed their direction and walked toward Baiya. One of them pointed a gun at Su Jiran's head. Su Jiran raised his hands and didn't move. Another person covered Baiya's nose with a handkerchief. A strong smell of ether wafted through her nose. The 3 masked men held her hostage as they retreated step by step. She looked at Su Jiran drowsily. He stood protectively in front of Xing Jinyan and smiled coquettishly as he watched her being taken away. So cruel and heartless. Suddenly, she seemed to understand something. Su Jiran liked Xing Jinyan. That was why he was suddenly pursuing her. She did not expect that he would put her in such a dangerous situation for the sake of his beloved woman. She seemed to hear the sound of her heart breaking. She closed her eyes and fell asleep in the thick darkness. Su Jiran reached out to the panic-stricken Xing Jinyan and smiled charmingly. Follow me. Xing Jinyan held his hand without hesitation and ran with him. They were like a prince and a princess in a fairy tale, full of romance. They arrived at his car. Su Jiran rolled down the window. Jiran, are they here to capture me? I'm so scary. Xing Jinyan was still panicking and she patted her chest. Don't you think I'm scarier? Su Jiran smiled devilishly. Before Xing Jinyan could react, he leaned over and pressed his body against hers. He lowered his head and kissed her lips, searching for the taste of the past. The kiss became deeper and more intense. His hand slid into her shirt unrestrainedly. Don't. Xing Jinyan pushed him away. Ha! Don't what? Su Jiran didn't hide his desire for her. He pinched her leg, as if he was punishing her. Not here. Xing Jinyan pleaded with a blushing face. You don't have a choice. He kissed her lips again, passionately and madly. It was suffocating. As a playboy, he knew how to make a woman yield. Soon, Xing Jinyan's eyes were intoxicated. He let go of her lips and his eyes became darker and more evil. He smiled. Do you want it? Xing Jinyan's face was flushed and she trembled slightly. He asked wickedly and bit her ear. I've missed you every night for the past 3 years. Xing Jinyan's eyes were filled with tears. She seemed touched. Yes, I missed you too. Really? If you haven't had electricity for 3 years, does that count as missing? Su Jiran said sarcastically. Xing Jinyan panted and her eyes wandered. I was locked up in the base's hospital and there was no electricity at all. I wanted to contact you too. He moved his mouth to her ear and asked ambiguously, then do you know what I like? Xing Jinyan placed her hand on his abdomen. After years of training, Su Jiran had become more dangerous and seductive to women. She turned around and asked, are you still angry that I left without saying goodbye? He ran his fingers through her hair to her neck and said seductively, I won't forgive a woman who abandons me easily. I didn't. She retorted. He pressed down on her neck, his eyes filled with hatred. He was like a crazy beast that wanted to tear the woman in front of him apart. This was the woman who had left without saying goodbye and betrayed him. And now, she was right in front of him. He only needed to exert a little bit of force to crush her neck. Su Jiran's eyes flashed with a hint of joy. He had waited for 3 years just for this moment to punish this woman to his heart's content. He wanted to let her know that no one could afford to offend him. Xiaoyan, Su Jiran called gently. Xing Jinyan looked at him. I'm already married, Su Jiran said with a smile. His smile was especially seductive and it instantly lit up his peerless face. Xing Jinyan was shocked and shocked. He liked to see this expression on his face. It greatly satisfied his pride. He had thought that it would be difficult to get her love, so he had specially arranged a good show, but in the end, if it was too easy, it would be boring. He smiled and lifted Xing Jinyan up. He wasn't going to punish her just by scaring her. He wanted to use everything she had taught him to love and please, to hurt and be cruel. Xing Jinyan blushed and wrapped her arms around his neck. Her eyes were misty and she said gently, don't let me down. He smiled mysteriously. She trembled, sobbed, but then she lay comfortably in his arms. Jiran, I love you. Su Jiran felt a little bored. In comparison, he missed Baya more. He had helped Baya return to her position as the daughter of a wealthy family. She should thank him. After all, they were husband and wife, right? Special Military Area Command Gu Lingqing answered the phone. He frowned and his chin was tight, showing his displeasure. If it's a normal kidnapping case, please go to the armed police. I'm here to deal with the enemy, not the normal criminals. Your Uncle Xing's daughter is also your sister. The armed police are ready, but the criminals are only allowed 2 people to enter the island. You can only deal with them if you send an elite special forces soldier. Are you going or not? Gu Tianhang said angrily. Gu Lingqing hung up the phone. Chief, should we send someone? The armed police are ready and waiting, Lieutenant Colonel Shang asked worriedly. Chapter 28. Sir, I can't. This mission is too dangerous. Lieutenant Colonel Shang was so worried that he was sweating. Gu Lingqing packed his things and was very determined. This is my family's private matter. Who else do you think is more suitable besides me? I can't. I believe that the other Special Forces soldiers will definitely complete this mission with honor. Lieutenant Colonel Shang, run 20 laps with a weight of 10 kilograms. You talk too much nonsense, he said coldly. He packed his things and set off for the crime scene. On the beach, a group of armed special forces lined up neatly with rifles in their hands. Xing Bachuan sat in a car with black windows. Next to him sat a man who was wearing the same clothes as him and looked very similar. Gu Lingqing was carried into the car by the police. Xing Bachuan hung up the phone with the kidnappers and said to Gu Lingqing, they promised that 2 people will accompany me to the island. You must ensure the safety of my daughter. Gu Lingqing glanced at Xing Bachuan's face indifferently. He had even found a substitute. He was really afraid of death. Gu Lingqing didn't say anything. He took Xing Bachuan's phone and carried the fake governor onto the yacht. Sir, I'll go with you. Lieutenant Colonel Shang rushed over. If something happened to the chief, he wouldn't be able to live long. It was better to come and protect the chief. Stay here and wait for orders, Gu Lingqing ordered. He set sail for the deserted island. After getting on the island, he called Saudi Arabia and found that the phone was turned off. He shuttled through the forest suspiciously. The more he walked, the more surprised he became. The surroundings were too quiet, so quiet that it was peaceful. Finally, he saw a wooden house in front of him with a bit of starlight. He looked around cautiously and quickly leaned against the side of the wooden house. He opened a gap in the window and looked inside. Bai Yo was left in the middle of the house, hanging by a rope. Her mouth was stuffed with a piece of cloth. Her hands were already bruised. Her expression was cold. She looked at the air blankly. He didn't know if she was strong or scared silly. She was too calm. Gu Lingqing's heart tightened. He scanned the room and found that there was no one else inside. He quickly pushed the door and went in. Bai Yo looked at him. Her big eyes were locked on his resolute face, and she was a little absent-minded. She kept looking and looking until her eyes turned red and the corners of her mouth curled into a smile. Some people say that when God closes your window, he must open another. Gu Lingqing quickly ran over, untied the rope on her hand, and saved her. Pull the cloth from her mouth. When he saw the red bruises on her face, he frowned and asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" Bai Yi shook his head. He pitifully blew on her red and swollen hand and softly said, "It must be very painful, right?" Bai Yi stared at him. She didn't cry when the mistress came looking for her. She didn't cry when Su Jiran pushed her to the gates of hell. Being cared for by him made her feel a very sour feeling in her heart. He had been hurt too much and was already numb to it. But sunlight was scarce, and she was even more precious. Tears flowed out. Sniffing her nose, she smiled again. "I'm fine." Yes, without Su Jiran in her heart, she would be fine. She saw her bag, walked over, and picked it up. Gu Lingqing held her hand and promised, "Follow me closely, I will definitely ensure your safety." Baiya glanced at his hand. His palms were warm. Because of long-term training, it was a little rough, but it was a strong feeling, which made her feel very at ease. She didn't refuse his touch again. Or maybe it was because she was too tired. Her heart was too bitter. She needed this firm warmth to drive away the coldness in her body. Xing Bachwan's face darkened when he saw Baiya come ashore. He frowned, and his voice became sharp. How could it be you? Did you tell the gangster that she was my daughter? Baiya looked at Xing Bachwan indifferently. She didn't say that she was his daughter. Even if she really died, she wouldn't say it. Ridiculous. What a waste of my time. Xing Bachwan got into the car angrily, slammed the door, and left, leaving behind a group of confused people. Only Baiya knew the reason. She stood quietly, looking at the back view of Xing Bachwan's car. He thought that the person who was kidnapped was Xing Jinyan, so he came. In his heart, Xing Jinyan was his daughter, but she wasn't. There was a slight pain in her heart that was being pulled. I'll send you back. Gu Lingqing sensed that something was wrong with her. She turned her head and smiled at Gu Lingqing, hiding the gloominess in her eyes. Okay. She got into his car, leaned against the window, and closed her eyes. She was very tired. She hadn't rested since morning. Her body was tired, and her heart was tired. She fell asleep after a while. Her phone rang. Gu Lingqing was worried that it would wake her up, so he answered the phone. Where is she? Come to my villa in an hour, Su Jiran ordered. Gu Lingqing hated his tone. His black eyes became deeper, and he said in a low voice, She's asleep. Who are you? Gu Lingqing. Where are you? There was an inexplicable panic in Su Jiran's heart. If there's anything, we'll talk tomorrow morning. I'm hanging up. He hung up and turned off Baiya's phone. He looked at Baiya. Baiya's neck was tilted, and her head was drooping. It was still 40 minutes away from the city center. She would definitely have a stiff neck if she slept like this. Gu Lingqing saw a hotel not far away. He drove the car close to the hotel's parking lot. The rules of the hotel were very strict. No one was allowed to check in without an ID card. He used his military ID card to get a room. Baiya was still asleep. He carried her and walked to the elevator. Her body was soft, and her little face was as red as an apple. He put her gently on the bed. Her hair brushed past his arm, tickling him. His eyes narrowed and were mesmerized by the colors. Something hot surged in his abdomen. After all, he was a hot-blooded man. The taste of her had been deeply imprinted in his mind 3 years ago. He sighed, covered her with the quilt, and went into the bathroom. The cold water rushed down. It chilled his skin, but it couldn't cool the passion in his heart and the restlessness hidden in his body. This was the best time to test his will. Early morning. Baiya was woken up by the sound of water in the bathroom. She sat up and brushed her hair. Her head was still dizzy, and she saw Gu Lingqing's clothes on the sofa. Her lips curled up. Staying in the same room with him was just to make her feel at ease. She stepped out of the bed. Gu Lingqing walked out of the bathroom. His hair was wet, and his face was tense. The strong lines on his face made his face more three-dimensional, as if he was suppressing something. His strong and muscular lines extended all the way down to his abdomen. A white bath towel was wrapped around his belly button, and it was very sexy. Baiya blushed a little, and tried to look at his face. She said softly, "Morning." Gu Lingqing ignored her, walked to the sofa, and picked up his clothes. She felt that he was not happy. "Well, thank you. I slept too much last night, and I don't remember checking into the hotel," Baiya thanked him. Chapter 29. Baya felt that he was a little weird. But she didn't know why. Was he angry early in the morning, or was he angry? It's not the first time we've been in the same room. I trust you, Baya said in a distant and polite manner. He frowned slightly, and the anger in his eyes deepened. Trust me for what? He was overbearing, and that inexplicable pressure made it hard for her to breathe. Are you sick? Baya touched his forehead. He grasped her wrist even faster. His palm was very hot, like the butt of a cigarette. He also felt that he was sick. In the same room, he could still be a saint. In the whole world, only he, Gu Lingqing, could do that. Suddenly, the air pressure rose and collapsed his reason. He pressed the back of her head and kissed her. His lips were very hot. A fresh toothpaste smell rushed into her nose, lips, and mouth, all the way to her heart and lungs. Baya was so shocked that her mind went blank. He stuck his tongue in. He swallowed her natural sweet taste. His lips and teeth melted with hers. Ferocious like a flood that had opened the floodgates. Baya only felt that her breath was being eroded by him bit by bit. His breath was also getting heavier. Baya's eyes were red with fear. She almost forgot that Gu Lingqing's feelings for her were not pure. She must be crazy to sleep in the same room with him. She pushes at his chest. He held her hand and didn't move. Instead, the temperature of his body was getting higher and higher. Even cold water couldn't cool down the heat. Her hand was trembling. She protested with a frown, her watery eyes locked onto him. The charming mist in his eyes became more and more blurred. The more she resisted, the more he wanted her. His big palm slid through her clothes and across her waist. Wherever the big palm passed, it made her tremble. She had never been touched like this before. She immediately felt humiliated. Her head was dizzy and her legs were weak. He held her waist, and there was no distance between them. His fingers undid the buckle on her back and followed the strap to the front. The hot temperature of his palm touched her skin, as if it was going to set her on fire. A series of unfamiliar electric currents swept through her delicate body. The unfamiliar numbness brought with it a different feeling. No. Baya resisted, his voice trembling. Her resistance was completely useless now. He kissed her neck and straightened her dress to her waist. His hot lips landed on her shoulder. Hot air fell on her body. Gu Lingqing, don't. She trembled in fear. She wanted to say something but stopped. Her eyes were misty and moist. What is it? He asked, looking at her with a burning gaze. She found it hard to speak. She blushed. It's not right for us to do this. I'm married. His eyes narrowed in an instant and he frowned. There was no joking expression on his resolute face. As long as it's a woman I like, I don't care who she is, whether she's married or not, and whether she has children or not. I want you. Her heart was beating so fast that she couldn't breathe, and her brain couldn't think. Is he confessing? In a daze, Gu Lingqing carried her to the bed. She felt a chill on her back and regained her senses. She pressed her hand against Gu Lingqing's burning chest. His deep gaze was like a whirlpool, causing her to be unable to extricate herself and fall into it. If she lost her senses now, what about tomorrow, the day after, or in the future? The passion between a man and a woman was temporary. It couldn't solve anything, and it couldn't bring about anything. Gu Lingqing, don't, Baya begged. I'll be responsible for you, he said hoarsely. He held her hand and moved it down his abs. She shivered. She was so scared that she wanted to retract her hand. He pressed her hand down and didn't let her leave. She shouted anxiously, "We're not close." His body froze and his deep eyes were covered with a layer of indistinct color. His anger was replaced by a blurry look. "You're saying that we're not close?" Vaguely, she felt a little heartache. She lowered her eyes and tears flowed from her eyes. He understood that she didn't want to be like this. The warmth in his eyes turned cold. He let go of her and stood up. "I'm sorry, I was rude. We're really not close. If you don't want to see me in the future, I'll disappear from your life completely," Gu Lingqing said coldly, very dispirited. He turned around and walked into the bathroom again. Bai Yi didn't feel very comfortable as she watched his cold and arrogant back view disappear. She curled up and hugged her calves, covering her face with her knees. Actually, she didn't hate him. It was just that she was still a married woman. She didn't want to become someone like Su Jiran. Gu Lingqing came out of the bathroom and returned to his usual coldness. He walked straight to the sofa and tidied up his clothes indifferently. He didn't look at her again. "Gu Lingqing," Bai Yi shouted. He packed up his things coldly, even colder than before. She didn't know what to say and could only look at him. He tidied up his things and looked at her affectionately. "I'll wait for you downstairs." With that said, he turned around and left her room. Bai Yi got out of bed, washed up, and went to the hall on the first floor. Gu Lingqing had already stopped a taxi for her. "Get in the car," he said coldly and opened the back door. Bai Yi walked past him and got into the car. "Gu Lingqing," Bai Yi shouted and looked at him with slightly red eyes. "I don't want to be a stranger to you." Gu Lingqing was slightly stunned. He pulled Bai Yi down and walked quickly to the parking lot. He threw her in front of his car door and put his hand on the side of her head. He looked at her with burning eyes, sharp, serious, and serious. "Tell me clearly, do you want to have an affair with me?" "No," she answered without even thinking. "Do you want me to like you?" Gu Lingqing asked, not giving her any time to respond. If he liked her and she didn't like him, he would be very tired. She had enough of the feeling of falling in love with someone who didn't love her. If she didn't love him, she didn't want him to like her. She shook her head. In her current situation, she didn't have the ability to love anyone. Gu Lingqing's eyes dimmed. "Since we're nothing, it's better not to see each other in the future." He let go of her hand, opened the car door, and got into the driver's seat. "Can't we be friends?" Bai Yi asked. Chapter 30. Bai Yi smiled bitterly. "I'm married. I have a husband. How can I be your woman?" Gu Lingqing could tell that she was rejecting him, so he didn't want to force her. "Let it be. We don't belong to the same world. There's no need to be friends. Get in the car, I'll send you back," Gu Lingqing said calmly. Bai Yi lowered her eyes. Her long eyelashes formed a silhouette under her eyes, covering the dark emotions that flowed through her eyes. She and Gu Lingqing did not belong to the same world. Since they couldn't be friends, there was no need to force it. She had always been alone, and she had lived until now. There's no need. I can take a taxi back. Thank you for saving me. I wish you happiness. Bai Yi nodded, turned around and walked towards the entrance of the hotel. Gu Lingqing gritted his teeth. His eyes were filled with irritation. His nails that were holding the steering wheel turned white. He steeled his heart and drove away. Bai Yi took a taxi back to her apartment. When she opened the door, Su Jiran was in her apartment, sitting on the sofa. The cigarette in his hand flickered, and the smoke blurred his face. The ashtray was full of cigarette ashes. The room was filled with smoke. Bai Yi looked straight at him. "You just came back." Su Jiran's lips curled up. He was as devilish as usual, but there was no warmth in his eyes. She saw how cruel he was. His kindness was only shown to other women, but she couldn't feel it. Let's go. The Civil Affairs Bureau should be open now. Let's get the divorce certificate done. I still have to go to the hospital, Baya said calmly. He chuckled and stood up. Who said that I wanted to divorce you? Baya stared at him. Her gaze became colder and colder, and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. Soo-jiran, do you think we can still go on after what happened yesterday? Don't deceive yourself. I'm not a child. You know very well why you married me. Now that she's back, I'll give you my blessings that you'll be united forever, fall sick together, and die together. Soo-jiran furrowed his brows, his eyes filled with irritation. Have you had enough? The criminals caught you, but I've already dealt with them. What else do you want me to do? Saving the damsel in distress is indeed your style, but it doesn't mean that I want to continue playing with you. Xing Jinyan is already back, and he's the apple of Xing Bachuan's eye. You provoked me back then because you knew I was Xing Bachuan's daughter. I'll marry you. Don't worry. Even if she comes back, it won't affect your status as Mrs. Su, Soo-jiran said with certainty. Baya didn't want to talk to him anymore. There was no point in talking more. She walked past him towards the room. Seeing her disdain, Soo-jiran's eyes narrowed and he grabbed her wrist. What's your attitude now? Don't you have eyes to see? Can't you see what attitude I have? Baya wanted to shake his hand off. His grip was too tight, and she couldn't shake it off at all. His gaze became more and more sinister, and there was a hint of jealousy in his eyes. Why? Are you in love with Gu Lingqing? Baya sneered. It doesn't seem to have much to do with you. He tightened his grip. Say that again. No matter how many times I say it, it's the same. I've never cared about your matters, and my matters have nothing to do with you, Baya said coldly. She wasn't afraid of his anger that was about to explode. To her, he was already nothing from the moment he treated her like a chess piece yesterday. He pushed her shoulders hard and moved forward quickly and comfortably. Baya was pushed against the wall by him. The pain in her back tugged at her bones. Her body was in pain, but her heart was calmer. She had to get a divorce, and she was determined to get it. Soo-jiran scrutinized Baya. His eyes were bloodshot as he questioned. Did he really F*CKU? Baya, compared to the women outside, I thought you were at least clean. I didn't expect you to be as dirty as them. Dirty? Baya raised the corner of her mouth sarcastically and looked straight into his beautiful and unfathomable eyes. His heart actually didn't hurt anymore. Yeah, I'm very dirty. Wipe your hands. Looking at her cold and distant face, he felt a stab of pain in his heart. He pinched her chin. Baya, what are you thinking? Divorce. Please, disappear from my life completely. Baya said resolutely. The veins on his forehead popped. He lowered his head and kissed her fiercely. Baya gritted her teeth hard. She didn't like the charming taste of tobacco in his mouth. It was too turbid. It made her want to go to Gu Lingqing. It was pure, sunny, and warm. Soo-jiran was furious. He pinched her little face hard and forced her to open her mouth. He kissed her fiercely until he reached her mouth. The light and elegant fragrance of her body made him almost fascinated. He was crazy for her. His reason disappeared. There was only one organ in his body that was clamoring for her. Baya frowned. She couldn't struggle. Her physical strength couldn't compete with this man. She made up her mind, clenched her fists, endured the nausea in her stomach, and kissed him back. Soo-jiran felt that her kiss back was not smooth. Compared to so many skillful women, she was simply clumsy. However, he felt very comfortable. It was as if a drop of hot water was dripping on his cold and indestructible heart. It was warm. This kind of awareness surprised him. He let go of her, looked at her red lips suspiciously, and asked, "Is this your trick? You deliberately made me angry." "Yes." Baya raised the corner of her mouth coldly. In order to protect herself, why not lie? "It worked, didn't it?" Baya asked. The fog spread to her eyes and covered the window of her heart. Su Jiran smiled wickedly. "It did work. You didn't use it on him, right?" "Of course not." Baya didn't dare to anger Su Jiran. He was too dangerous now. Su Jiran grinned, and even the depths of his eyes were smiling. "Baya, you're getting more and more scheming. Did I capture your heart?" Baya asked arrogantly. "Don't play these tricks on me in the future. I don't like it." He smiled wickedly, and his tone was still as doting as before. But she knew that he used this kind of tone to flirt with every woman he met. "No, I'm going to work," Baya said coldly. "You go to work." He yawned. "I didn't sleep last night. I'll sleep here for a while." "Do as you please." Baya almost escaped from the room. She looked back at the door, and fear flowed in her eyes. She couldn't come to this place again. Su Jiran was too scary. He refused to divorce, so she could only use legal means. Su Jiran walked into Baya's room, lay on her bed, and covered her with the quilt. There was no perfume or makeup on her quilt, but it had a very fresh and elegant fragrance. It smelled very good. Chapter 31. Baya went back to her office. Lu Shuang passed by and saw Baya in the office. She came back and asked with concern, "Xiao Bai, how's the aftermath of yesterday?" "I'm preparing for a divorce," Baya said calmly. "Really? You did the right thing. I support you to get a divorce." She smiled mischievously. "Is it because of the handsome guy you saw yesterday afternoon?" "No." Baya shook her head. She felt a little lonely. "I'll never see him again." "Why?" "He doesn't like you because you're a married woman." "You're going to get a divorce soon," Lu Shuang said, puzzled. "I'm too far away from him. I'm going to rent a house again. Then, I'll go to the lawyer's office today. If I want a divorce, I need to show you the evidence of Su Jiran's extramarital affair," Baya said thoughtfully. "Evidence of Su Jiran's extramarital affair? That's easy. Give it to me, and I'll handle it for you," Lu Shuang said confidently. "Thank you," Baya thanked him sincerely. The marriage that lasted for 3 years was finally coming to an end. She could finally get out of that hell. She only knew how beautiful it was when she let it go. There was a knock on the door. Baya looked at the door. The head of the gynecology department looked terrible. She looked at Baya and said, "The director asked you to go over. It's not a good thing. Be prepared. Is Su Jiran the B***starred really going to kill you?" Lu Shuang said. Baya's heart skipped a beat. She had a bad feeling. "I'll go first." Lu Shuang saw Baya go out and immediately called the director. "Dad, what's going on? Are the higher-ups still targeting Baya?" "The leader of the health bureau suppressed this matter and asked us to deal with it. It should have been dealt with yesterday, but I delayed it for a day and asked her to think of a solution. She still hasn't thought of anything. I have to report this to the higher-ups," the dean said helplessly. "Wait a moment. I have an idea." "Dad, don't deal with it first. Stall for time," Lu Shuang said with a sudden inspiration. "My dear daughter, what do you want now? Dad has already helped you clean up a lot of messes. Please spare my old life," the headmaster said anxiously. I know. Just wait for half an hour. Lu Shuang hung up the phone. She took out her phone from Bai Ye's bag and found a call from the bureau chief. She took Bai Ye's phone and called him. The phone rang twice before it was hung up. Since it was an emergency, Lu Shuang couldn't care less about whether the others were busy or not. He made another call. Gu Lingqing was still dead. She quickly typed a message, I'm waiting for you to save me. Hurry up and pick up the phone. After sending the text message, Lu Shuang called again. What's the matter? Gu Lingqing picked up the call. Just pick up the call, Mr. Bureau Chief. Bai Ye is in trouble. She's waiting for you to save her, Lu Shuang said. Gu Lingqing heard that it was another woman's voice. She paused for a moment. What happened to her? Xiao Bai went out on a mission and delivered a pregnant woman. The ultrasound showed that the umbilical cord was around her neck. She was about to give birth. Xiao Bai could only make a small incision on her lower body. She didn't expect that the woman was Xiao Bai's husband's lover. Xiao Bai wanted to divorce her husband. Her husband instigated the woman to sue Xiao Bai, causing Xiao Bai to lose her job, Lu Shuang said simply. I know about this. I'll deal with it, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. Lu Shuang heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that. He smiled. You're indeed a great boyfriend. No wonder Xiao Bai likes you. Bai Ye likes me. Gu Lingqing frowned. He didn't believe it at all. Yes, she told me personally that she likes you. It's just that she's a married woman now, so it's not convenient for her. But don't worry, Bai Ye is trying her best to get a divorce, Lu Shuang said deliberately. She felt that Bai Ye was a good match for the military officer. Gu Lingqing was silent for a moment. He hung up the phone. His eyes were gentler than before. He called the director of the first hospital. Hello, I'm Gu Lingqing, the supreme leader of the special forces. Dr. Bai Ye is following my instructions during the mission. If anyone is looking for trouble, please ask her to look for me. It has nothing to do with Bai Ye, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. The director was stunned. The person who called him was the general of the special forces, Gu Lingqing. His daughter's ability was too great. Okay, I got it. I'll deal with it, the director said in a trembling voice. Gu Lingqing hung up the phone. The director said to Bai Ye, you're fine now. General Gu from the special forces just called and said that you were following his instructions. It has nothing to do with you. Go back to work. Bai Ye lowered her eyes. She didn't expect that Gu Lingqing was still willing to help her. Her heart was touched again and again. She went back to the office. The office was covered with roses, and there were 2 paper bags next to the chair. Su Jiran sat in front of her desk lazily and asked in a devilish tone, do you like it? She didn't like it. There was a hint of indifference in Bai Ye's eyes. I haven't gotten off work yet. Your presence here will affect my work. I've asked. You don't have an operation scheduled in the afternoon. It won't affect me here. He stood up and brushed the hair hanging down from her face. Bai Ye stepped back subconsciously. Su Jiran didn't like her repulsion. A sharp glint flashed across his eyes. What do you want now? You're the one who asked the director to fire me, aren't you? Bai Ye asked directly. Su Jiran paused. I almost forgot about this. Wait a minute. He made a call in front of Bai Ye and ordered, withdraw the charges against Bai Ye. After that, he hung up the phone and smirked. He looked at Bai Ye. Baby, it's settled. You just have to listen to me. I won't let you suffer. The way he called her baby gave her goosebumps. I'm going to work, Baya said indifferently and sat in front of her desk. Su Jiran placed the gift bag on Baya's desk. These are clothes and shoes. My friend is treating me to dinner today. You should go too. Baya's face turned pale when she recalled the incident with his wife. I'm not going. I don't want to know your friend. I was confused last time. I won't do it this time. I'll pick you up tonight, Su Jiran said domineeringly with a smile. He turned around and left from Baya's room. Lu Shuang saw Su Jiran walking out of Baya's room. He ran over and asked worriedly, "Is that bastard pestering you again?" "Very soon. Purgatory will end soon," Baya said with certainty. "Hurry up and end it. There's something better waiting for you." Lu Shuang smiled ambiguously. Gu Lingqing's face flashed across Baya's mind. Chapter 32. I want a divorce. His family won't agree. Baya said with self-awareness. Lu Shuang poked Baya's head. Why are you so inflexible? You and Su Jiran don't have a child. What era are we living in now? Divorced people are more popular than unmarried ones. Let's not talk about this. I need to finish my work. Baya said. Lu Shuang saw the gift bag on Baya's desk. She took it out. There was a pink gauze dress inside. It was made by Chanel. It was obviously expensive. Su Jiran gave it to you? Lu Shuang asked with disdain. Yeah. Baya didn't even look at the dress. Su Jiran is very generous to women. But he is not generous to one woman. You won't be soft-hearted, will you? Lu Shuang asked worriedly. Baya looked up. Her eyes were as calm as water. I have given up on him. It doesn't matter if he is hard or soft. Lu Shuang gave Baya a thumbs up and agreed. That's right. I will keep an eye on him these days. It will be easy to get the evidence of his affair. I will give it to you. Thank you. I don't have anything to do this afternoon. I will go to the lawyer's office to ask about the situation. Hurry up. Baya asked the lawyer for details. The lawyer said that if there was evidence of the man's affair, they would force a divorce. It was not difficult to get the evidence of Su Jiran's affair. She came out of the lawyer's office. Her phone rang. Where are you? Did you ask for leave in the afternoon? Su Jiran asked suspiciously. She didn't want to tell Su Jiran that she was preparing for the divorce. She didn't want him to be on guard. She said perfunctorily, Yeah, I went out to relax. I am going back to the hospital now. See you at the entrance of the hospital in half an hour. Su Jiran said unhappily and hung up the phone. Baya took a deep breath. She had to endure it. She had endured it for so many years. A few more days was not a big deal. She returned to her office and changed into the clothes that Su Jiran had given her. His phone rang again. It was still from Su Jiran. Baya, there's a limit to being arrogant. I've been waiting for you for 10 minutes. Su Jiran said angrily. Baya sneered. She had waited for him for 3 years. 10 minutes was nothing. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Baya ignored his anger and hung up the phone. Su Jiran got out of the car and looked at the exit with a frown. He had left work early to wait for her. She had gone too far. Baya walked out of the exit. Su Jiran's eyes flashed with a hint of amazement, reflecting the beauty of his facial features. Baya usually dressed very maturely. In fact, she was only 24 years old. The pink silk dress suited her very well, and the elegant material outlined her perfect figure. In particular, the three-dimensional cut up to the knee, set off her straight and slender calves. She looked very good after dressing herself up. Beautiful things were pleasing to the eye. Su Jiran calmed down and opened the car door. Baiya got in the car and put on her seatbelt. She asked calmly, "Where are you taking me?" "The Peony Hall," Su Jiran said with a smile. The Peony Hall of the new century was the most luxurious private room in City A. This private room was not something an ordinary person could reserve. Baiya followed Su Jiran into the private room. Xing Jinyan held Su Jiran's arm naturally and introduced him to Xing Bachuan with a smile. "Dad, he saved me yesterday." Xing Bachuan smiled with satisfaction and reached out his hand. "Minister Su is a young talent from the Health Bureau. We've met before. Nice to meet you. Thank you for saving my daughter." Baiya stood at the door and watched them being intimate. Her lips curled up slightly. She seemed to have been the extra one all along. After shaking hands with Xing Bachuan, Su Jiran glanced at Baiya. "Come in." Xing Bachuan's face paled when he saw Baiya, and his smile froze. "Who is she, Jiran?" Xing Jinyan asked defensively. "I told you before." "She's my wife, Baiya," Su Jiran said with a smile. He took in their ugly expressions. Xing Bachuan glanced at Xing Jinyan in displeasure. He thought that Xing Jinyan had hooked up with a young talent from the Health Bureau as soon as he came back. He had a wife, and his wife was actually his daughter from his previous life. He felt uncomfortable all over. But he didn't lose his temper for the sake of Su Jiran. He said solemnly, "Please take a seat, everyone. I have 2 more friends coming." Su Jiran sat down with Baiya. The atmosphere was strangely depressing. "Bachuan, I'm sorry I'm late," Gu Tianhang walked in and said apologetically. Xing Bachuan saw Gu Tianhang and immediately stood up to welcome him. He shook his hand tightly, and his cold face warmed up again. "You're already giving me face by coming." Xing Bachuan looked behind Gu Tianhang and couldn't even keep his smile. "Like father, like son. I've finally witnessed General Gu's bravery." "Please take a seat," Xing Bachuan said hypocritically. Baiya looked at Gu Lingqing in surprise. She didn't expect to meet Gu Lingqing here. His expression was tense and cold. There wasn't a hint of a smile on his face. He glanced at her indifferently and looked away as if they didn't know each other. "General Gu, it's been a while." Su Jiran smiled and put his arm around Baiya's shoulder, pulling her into his arms. "I don't seem to be familiar with you." Gu Lingqing sat down in front of Baiya arrogantly. His distant aura made him look arrogant and unruly. "Not familiar." These 2 words made Baiya's heart tremble. She seemed to have said these 2 words to Gu Lingqing. However, he still helped her solve the dispute in the hospital. Baiya lowered her eyes. Xing Bachuan looked at Gu Lingqing and then at Xing Jinyan. His eyes were sharp. "General Gu is young and promising. Do you have a girlfriend?" "I have a fiancé." He looked up at Xing Bachuan coldly. He glanced at Baiya. Her face was calm, as if she had nothing to do with him having a fiancé. Was she really not familiar with him? His face became even colder. He poured himself a glass of red wine and drank it in one gulp. "Ah." Xing Bachuan was disappointed. "When did this happen, old Gu? Why haven't I heard you mention it?" "It's about the child. It's been on and off, and it's been noisy. I can't really tell. However, I want to announce this at the banquet tomorrow night," Gu Tianhang said happily. "So you have a fiancé?" Su Jiran picked up his glass and gestured to Gu Lingqing. He said meaningfully, "I'm sure General Gu and your fiancé must have a good relationship. I'm impressed that you're able to keep your composure. Here's to you." Gu Lingqing didn't raise his glass. Su Jiran felt a little bored. Oh right, thank you for saving my wife last night. She hid in my arms and cried her eyes out as if she had been wronged. I'm sure she's still traumatized by what happened last night. Chapter 33. What happened this morning? Su Jiran looked at Baya with a dangerous glint in his eyes. She didn't like his fake intimacy and nonsense. When did she hide in his arms and cry? Baya curled her lips and said sarcastically, I'm crying. Can I not tell you what I'm afraid of? Su Jiran didn't like her answer. He curled his lips, but his eyes became cold. He moved his mouth to her ear and whispered in a low voice that everyone could hear, yes, how can you be afraid of what happened in the morning? You love rolling in the sheets with me. Gu Lingqing looked at Baya with cold eyes. Baya had the urge to slap Su Jiran. What he said made her feel sick. He touched her thigh and pinched it hard as if he was punishing her. Bang! Xing Jinyan knocked over the cup. Baya looked at Xing Jinyan. Xing Jinyan's watery eyes sparkled as she looked at Su Jiran. She felt so wrong that her hands trembled. Baya was very disgusted with Su Jiran's methods. He brought her here on purpose to make Xing Jinyan jealous. Now that his plan had succeeded, it was time for her to retire. Excuse me, I need to go to the washroom. Baya picked up her bag and walked out. Wait. Xing Jinyan stopped in front of Baya and smiled gently. My dress is wet. Can you help me? Baya stared at Xing Jinyan. She wasn't a heartless person. She knew that it was a demonstration, but she still took it. Wasn't that stupid? Miss Xing, you have your own hands, don't you? Sorry, I'm not free. She walked out of the room coldly. Xing Jinyan was embarrassed for a moment. Seeing Baya leave, she immediately chased after her. Su Jiran revealed a meaningful smile. Even the depths of his eyes were smiling. It seemed that the girls were jealous. If you step on the boat too much, your shoes will get wet sooner or later. Gu Lingqing picked up the wine glass and took a sip. It doesn't matter. I can swim. Even if I fall into the river, I don't need to worry. Su Jiran joked. Gu Lingqing looked at him coldly. His cell phone rang. Gu Lingqing glanced at the caller ID and stood up. Excuse me. He took his phone and went out. Chief, the leader of the terrorist organization we're following, Miller, has just arrived in a city. According to our informant, there might be a batch of firearms being sold recently. I guess it might be related to him. Should we arrest him now or later? Lieutenant Colonel Shang reported. Since he still dares to come, he must have a reason to risk his life. Keep a close eye on him and wait for any changes, Gu Lingqing ordered rationally. When he passed by the door of the washroom, he heard Baya's voice coming from inside. He instinctively stopped in his tracks. There's nothing to talk about between me and Miss Xing, right? Baya said coldly. I know that you're my sister. Xing Jinyan curled her lips and said provocatively, Jie Ran told me that he only married you because he wanted to see me. 3 years ago, there was a misunderstanding between us and I was forced to leave. Now that I'm back, can you let go of me? She had wanted to let go of him for a long time. What do you want me to do? Baya asked coldly. Divorce and let us be together, Xing Jinyan said straightforwardly. Baya sneered. It seemed that all mistresses had the same request. She was really on the verge of collapsing. It would be better if she didn't do it. As long as he brings it up, I'll divorce him immediately and leave him with nothing. I'll leave the heavy responsibility of getting him to bring it up to you. Baya was telling the truth. Xing Jinyan's expression darkened and she said sarcastically, you know that he's using you to anger me. How can we divorce? Baya, let go. You're not in his heart. You're just a tool for him to take revenge on me. Baya stared at Xing Jinyan. All right. Xing Jinyan couldn't understand what she was saying at all. She shouldn't play the lute to a cow. Is there anything else, Miss Xing? No, I'm leaving, Baya said indifferently. Xing Jinyan looked at her indifferent expression, as though victory was in her grasp. There was a surge of anger in her heart that was rising rapidly. Baya, don't you have any shame? He doesn't love you. Don't you understand? Xing Jinyan tore off her ladle-like facade and shouted. Baya looked down. The mistress actually said that she had no shame. What a joke. She couldn't be bothered with her anymore and walked away proudly. Baya, I'll definitely make Jie Ran divorce a disgusting woman like you, Xing Jinyan shouted. Baya walked out of the washroom and paused when she saw Gu Lingqing. He held her hand and walked quickly into the private room and closed the door. Baya was a little afraid of him now. Her eyes flickered. He didn't let her dodge. He placed his hand on the side of her head and locked his gaze on her. Are you stupid or a fool? Do you think that you can make Su Jiran change his mind by obeying him? He's just enjoying the feeling of having women on his left and right. She knew it. Su Jiran had brought her here on purpose to make Xing Jinyan jealous. But she had no choice. I know what I'm doing. Baya said. She just had to endure for a few days and find the evidence. Then she could get a divorce and get rid of this hellish marriage. What are you doing? Compromising and loving. Men won't like you just because you're wagging your tail and begging. Gu Lingqing's chest was heaving up and down. She was very angry. I'm not wagging my tail and begging. I'm not begging for love. Then what are you doing now? Did you sleep with him in the morning? Gu Lingqing's tone became sharp. Right now, he was not calm at all. His blood was surging and boiling. I didn't sleep with him. I never slept with him. He was the one who spouted nonsense, Baya blurted out. She was annoyed after saying that. She was so eager to explain to him, as if she was hinting at something. I'm leaving. Baya walked away sullenly. The haze in Gu Lingqing's eyes gradually dissipated. So, they didn't have sex in the morning. So, they never had sex in the morning. The other meaning of this sentence was that the only man she had was him. Gu Lingqing opened the door and walked out. He watched as Baya walked into the elevator. He chased after her. Xing Jinyan looked at them maliciously. A light flashed in his eyes. She made a call. Brother Sen, it's Jinyan. Are you near the peony hole? Xing Jinyan asked sweetly. Yes. What's wrong? Do you miss me? Brother Sen said pervertedly. Help me do something. After it's done, I'll ask my father to approve the project you applied for. What is it? A man and a woman left the peony hole. I'll send you their photos. Lock them in the same room and give them some medicine. You know what I mean. Xing Jinyan's eyes flashed with a dark light. Chapter 34. Baya walked out of the restaurant. She felt depressed. Her mind was in a mess. It was because of Gu Lingqing. She knew it. She seemed to be, a little, attracted to him. There was a flurry of footsteps behind her. Baya turned around instinctively. A man wearing a mask came over with a spray. He pointed it at her 5 times. Pie, 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 pie. She smelled a strong ether smell. Her vision darkened and she fainted. The man carried her and put her in the car. What are you doing? Gu Lingqing chased after them and asked. A hand was placed on his shoulder. Gu Lingqing's eyes flashed with sharpness. He threw him over his shoulder. The man was thrown to the ground, still holding the spray in his hand. Gu Lingqing dashed towards Bai Ye. Another man dashed out and stood in front of Gu Lingqing. He didn't stop and dashed over. Before the man could throw a punch, he was pushed away and hit the car. Gu Lingqing was too fast. He wasn't a match for him at all. Get in the car, the man shouted. The man who was hit got up and jumped into the car. Gu Lingqing watched as the car with Bai Ye drove away. He quickly chased after her. A gun came out of the car and was aimed at Gu Lingqing. Gu Lingqing jumped away. They stepped on the accelerator and ran away. Gu Lingqing immediately called the road management office. Help me check 2 cars. One is a black Santana with the car plate number **315 and the other is a black Volkswagen with the car plate number **510. Tell me their whereabouts in 10 minutes. He got into his car and sped along the road. Su Jiran waited for a while but Bai Ye didn't come back. He called her but she didn't pick up either. He was unhappy and went out to look for her. Jiran, Xing Jinyan called out gently from behind him. Su Jiran turned to look at her and smiled devilishly. What's wrong? Xing Jinyan walked up to him, her face flushed. I've booked a room at the Grand Hyatt Hotel. Of course he understood her hint. He liked the feeling of being chased by women. What did you say to Bai Ye? Su Jiran asked. Xing Jinyan looked at his half-smiling eyes and couldn't tell what he was thinking. I love you, but my wife is someone else. I have 1,000 things to say to your wife, but she left angrily. I didn't have a chance to talk to her. Su Jiran laughed, lifted her chin, and kissed her on the lips. You're the only woman I'm worried about. Don't disappoint me. The things those little women do will only annoy me. You're so smart, you should understand, Su Jiran said meaningfully. Xing Jinyan's mind was buzzing. Did Su Jiran know something? Have you fallen in love with Bai Ye? Xing Jinyan asked. What's there to love about her? You've just come back, have a good time with your family, Su Jiran said and walked towards the elevator. He didn't miss her at all. The director of the road bureau called Gu Lingqing. He asked the 2 cars to stop at the abandoned pier in Lijiang. Gu Lingqing quickly drove over. 1.5 hours later, he arrived at the pier. The surroundings were eerily quiet, and the 2 cars were parked there. Gu Lingqing flashed past. There was no one in the cars. In the row of warehouses, there was only one place with light. He quickly went over. Bai Ye's body was curled up, and her arms were around her chest. She was facing him, shivering on the bed. Gu Lingqing realized that something was wrong, and he ran in worriedly. Bai Ye, Gu Lingqing shouted. Bai Ye's face was unusually red, and her eyelashes trembled. She opened her eyes. Gu Lingqing, drive away. Don't talk, I'll send you to the hospital. Gu Lingqing carried her and turned around. The shuttered door of the warehouse was pulled shut by the masked man. Kid, this woman is a peerless beauty. You should enjoy it, the person outside said sinisterly. Gu Lingqing knew what happened to Bai Ye. Her gaze became more and more unfocused, and the desire became stronger, as if there were countless ants crawling on her body. Gu Lingqing frowned, and his eyes were filled with tears. She would feel terrible. He understood this feeling. He was like this 3 years ago, and in the end, he lost his mind. She happened to pass by, and that was why he took her. Hold on for a while, my people will be here soon. Gu Lingqing put her on the bed. He looked around and found pinhole cameras in the 4 corners. Baya watched as he tore off the wires of all 4 cameras. The pain was getting worse, and her mind was filled with some restricted images. She whimpered helplessly, and tears welled up in her eyes. She had never done anything bad, and she had never even talked bad about others behind their backs. Why did God treat her like this? Gu Lingqing made a call. Seeing that she was crying, his heart softened a little, and he wiped away her tears. Baya looked at him fixedly, and her eyes were filled with tears. It brightened her face, and she looked even more sexy and beautiful. She straightened her waist, and her soft and warm red lips touched his. Her hands wrapped around the back of his neck, and she pulled him to her side. His body froze, and his back stiffened. Her elegant scent rushed into his nose, and the soft clove was unbridled between his lips. It was so eager and hot, and he swallowed the taste that belonged to him. Gu Lingqing frowned, and only felt that his suppressed rationality was on the verge of collapse. The sweat that he had been holding back trickled down his forehead. Baya saw that he was not moving, and was very anxious. She kissed from the corner of his mouth to his chest. Gu Lingqing was startled, and he clamped her chin, pushed it away, and looked at her with a burning gaze. Do you know what you're doing? She was about to die from the heat, and she had completely lost her rationality. Leave, you, go away, she said, panting, but kissed his lips again. Her kissing skills were very bad, but it was so damn soft, and there was a sweet feeling in his heart. He closed his eyes, and didn't want to think anymore. She was the one who was drugged. But he also seemed to be drugged. His breathing became heavier, and he looked at Baya deeply. I feel so bad, Baya said while crying. Gu Lingqing made up his mind. He knew that she was under the influence of the drug, but he didn't want to miss it. Baya, I will take responsibility. I, Gu Lingqing, swear that in this lifetime, I will only have you as my woman. Chapter 35. Baya couldn't see his face clearly. Her mind was swallowed up by the darkness. It will hurt a little. Bear with it, Gu Lingqing said worriedly. If it weren't for the drug, he would have done the first part carefully. Gu Lingqing was about to unbuckle his belt when the shutter door was opened. He looked at the door alertly. Lieutenant Colonel Shang came with the soldiers and a doctor. Chief, are you okay? Lieutenant Colonel Shang asked worriedly. Gu Lingqing was a little absent-minded. If they had come a little later, something would have happened between him and Baya. He was a little annoyed. He stood up and ordered the doctor, give her a tranquilizer first. Yes. The doctor gave Baya a tranquilizer. Baya, who was in pain, looked at the medicine being injected into the needle hole weakly. The restlessness in her body gradually disappeared. She fell into a deep sleep. Lieutenant Colonel Shang looked at Baya's flushed face. The chief's clothes were untidy, and there were hickeys on his neck. He said worriedly, Chief, were you molested? Gu Lingqing's sharp gaze swept over him. You talk a lot of nonsense. He carried Baya and walked towards their car. Lieutenant Colonel Shang touched his nose. Why did he feel like he had ruined someone's good time? Baya woke up in a daze. The first thing that flashed in her memory was that she was kidnapped. She sat up in a panic. Her mind became clearer and clearer. Yesterday, she was drugged and it was Gu Lingqing who saved her. She even molested Gu Lingqing. It was so embarrassing. What are you thinking about? Why are you so focused? Gu Lingqing asked. Only then did Baya realize that Gu Lingqing was sitting on the sofa. She looked into his deep eyes and thought of last night. She couldn't help blushing. Nothing, I'm going to brush my teeth and wash up. She got up and didn't dare to look at him. She almost ran into the bathroom. Gu Lingqing got up and leaned against the door frame, watching her brush her teeth and wash her face. Do you remember what happened yesterday? Gu Lingqing asked. Bai Ye looked down. She remembered that she had touched that part of his body, and the feeling was still there. She wanted to play dead. I don't remember, Bai Ye said guiltily. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened. Did she not even dare to admit it? Gu Lingqing gritted his teeth and tightened his jaw. You were drugged last night. Bai Ye turned to look at him, her eyes gleaming. Did the general save me? Gu Lingqing sneered, I'll do it with you. Obviously not. Your subordinates came at that time. Bai Ye exposed his lie. The corners of Gu Lingqing's mouth curled up. So you remember. Was it a short-term memory loss just now? Bai Ye, she knew that she had fallen into his trap. She looked down and complained that he didn't give her face. Why are you like this? He looked at her condescendingly. His breath was all over her face. Why am I like this, don't you understand? His voice became softer, a little gloomy, a little repressed, and a little suggestive. Bai Ye's heart was beating very fast. He really had feelings for her. She wasn't imagining it. But she was a married woman, and this wasn't appropriate. Gu Lingqing's phone rang. He saw that it was Su Jiran's call. He frowned, picked it up and said coldly, What's the matter? Where's Bai Ye? Let her answer the phone, Su Jiran said angrily. Gu Lingqing glanced at Bai Ye and passed the phone to her. It's Su Jiran. Bai Ye didn't expect that Su Jiran would call Gu Lingqing to look for her. She took the phone suspiciously. What's the matter? You're sleeping with Gu Lingqing? Su Jiran asked sarcastically, hiding his anger. Don't use your dirty thoughts to think of others, Bai Ye said unhappily. You better not. Gu Lingqing is the chief of the special forces and the youngest general in history. His father is the deputy chief, and one day, he will become the president of the country. If you're with him, you'll be leaving a stain on his life. You're my wife, my woman, Su Jiran said arrogantly. She hated the phrase, you're my woman, Su Jiran. Don't you think you have too many women? Bai Ye said coldly. But I only have you as my wife, Su Jiran said sternly. He gritted his teeth and his gaze was sharp. Then you should control your women even more. Kidnapping and drugging me. If it wasn't for your connivance, would they have dared to do it? Was there a need for them to do so? Su Jiran was surprised. You said that someone drugged you. Don't you know who it was? I was kidnapped right after I left the restaurant. How many people knew that I was in that restaurant? You can count your fingers. Who else has the motive and who has the ability to do so? I don't want to talk to you anymore. Don't call me anymore. Bai Ye hung up the phone angrily. You still want such a scumbag? Gu Lingqing said coldly. Bai Ye recalled what Su Jiran said. Gu Lingqing was a general and the head of the special forces. He might become the president of the country in the future. She was a married woman. He treated her so well. She shouldn't hinder his future. I'm going back. I still have to work today. Bai Ye nodded indifferently. Gu Lingqing didn't like it when she was like this. It made his heart feel like it was being tugged at. He grabbed her chin and lifted it up. What do you want from me? Bai Ye looked straight into his beautiful eyes. To me, you are like the sun. As long as the sun shines, I can feel warmth. But if you get too close to me, I will turn into ashes before I even get close, Bai Ye said seriously. Am I that scary in your eyes? Gu Lingqing was annoyed. His chest was heaving up and down. I'm not scary. I'm just stating the truth. The truth is that you're timid. Gu Lingqing let go of his hand and turned his face away. You can leave. Bai Ye nodded respectfully. She picked up her bag and left without looking back. Gu Lingqing's fist hit the wall heavily. He frowned. This was the first time he lost control like this. Su Jiran was hung up. His gaze was sharp as he dialed Xing Jinyan's number and questioned him. Did you ask someone to kidnap Bai Ye last night? Of course not. Who told you that? Was Bai Ye kidnapped last night? Xing Jinyan pretended to be innocent. Don't let me find out it was you. Otherwise, I won't let you go, Su Jiran said fiercely. Didn't you say that you don't love her? Xing Jinyan felt wronged. Even if I don't love her, I won't allow anyone to bully her because of her identity as Mrs. Su. Okay, that's it. I have something to do here. Su Jiran hung up the phone in annoyance. Xing Jinyan gritted his teeth. Bai Ye was just Mrs. Su. Soon, she wouldn't be. Chapter 36. Xing Jinyan's phone rang. Seeing that it was Sen's call, she walked back to her room and picked it up. Sen, she said in a sweet voice. Xing Jinyan, what's the background of that Gu Lingqing? Brother Sen asked. What's wrong? Xing Jinyan frowned. He was annoyed, but his voice was still as gentle as ever. Damn it. He's investigating the car and found Little Hay. Little Hay is my man. He's going to find me. Don't worry. It's fine. How about this? Do me one more thing. I'll arrange for Little Hay to hide abroad. Without Little Hay, they won't be able to find you, Xing Jinyan said coldly. What else? Brother Sen was annoyed. Xing Jinyan's eyes flashed fiercely. Kill Bai Ye. Bai Ye was dead. She could only be Mrs. Su. I didn't expect you to be so ruthless even though you're usually so gentle, Brother Sen sneered. Of course not. I just don't want them to find you, Xing Jinyan said gently. Okay, but Little Hay has to leave tonight. Don't worry. Little Hay will leave and your real estate development project will be approved, Xing Jinyan promised. Gu Lingqing was extremely depressed. She couldn't even eat breakfast. She went back to her room to change for the meeting. She saw a work ID on the floor. He picked it up. It was Bai Ye's. In the photo, she had a simple and elegant face. She was smiling peacefully, but there was an unresolvable sorrow in her eyes. This woman was really forgetful. Lieutenant Colonel Shang, go to the hospital, Gu Lingqing ordered. Bai Ye had breakfast near the hospital. It was still early. She leisurely walked over. She was thinking about what had happened last night. Even now, those images made her heart beat faster. When she was near the entrance of the hospital, a black car rushed towards her. That kind of speed, and that kind of route, was aimed at her. Bai Ye was startled and subconsciously ran toward the shop next to her. However, the owner of the car wanted to kill her. He drove at an astonishing speed. Bai Ye couldn't outrun him. He was too anxious and fell to the ground. She could only watch as the car came crashing towards her. Beside her, a Bentley sped past her and crashed into the flower bed, blocking her way. There was another bang. The black car crashed into the Bentley. Chief, Lieutenant Colonel Shang exclaimed as he got down from a military vehicle behind. Seeing that the situation was not good, the black car quickly retreated. Bai Ye watched as Gu Lingqing was carried out of the Bentley by several soldiers and sent to the hospital. Her head was buzzing, and she stood there for a long time, unable to recover from it. Could it be that Gu Lingqing was trying to save her? Doesn't he know how dangerous he is? Bai Ye rushed to the hospital and asked the service counter, a minute ago, a group of soldiers sent an unconscious man here. Where did they send him? Department of Brain, Intensive Care, 18th floor, the nurse at the reception desk said. Baiye immediately rushed to the 18th floor of the neurology department. Gu Lingqing was going through all kinds of tests. She sat in the waiting area worriedly. The director and the important leaders had all come over. They looked solemn. She was really afraid that something might go wrong. Baiye felt even more uneasy when she saw them like this. If anything happened to Gu Lingqing because he saved her, she would never forgive herself. Time ticked by. Finally, Baiye saw Gu Lingqing being pushed out of the emergency room. His head was bandaged and his left arm was in a cast. He looked very serious. Her eyes reddened in an instant, and she ran up. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to come near, the soldier said sternly. Baiye's heart skipped a beat. Lieutenant Colonel Shang glanced at Baiye. Follow him. Thank you, Baiye said respectfully. She followed the cart into the VIP room. Lieutenant Colonel Shang left with the soldiers. In the room, there was only Gu Lingqing and her. Baiye's eyes were red and misty. She sat on the chair beside the bed and choked with sobs. How did you get hurt so badly? Gu Lingqing slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was deep, like the vast universe, reflecting the two of her. Do you feel sorry for me? Gu Lingqing asked in a deep voice. He, because of her, got hurt more and more seriously. And she, apart from feeling guilty, couldn't do anything else. Suddenly, she felt resentful towards Su Jiran. If he hadn't been a troublemaker, she wouldn't have been hated by his women, and Gu Lingqing wouldn't have gotten hurt. I must be your jinx. It seems that every time you see me, nothing good will happen, Baiye said apologetically, tears flowing down. He brushed her tears with his index finger and slightly raised the corner of his mouth. But, I must be your lucky star. When you see me, you will definitely be safe. Baiye was touched by his words and smiled through her tears. Have you had breakfast? No, are you going to feed me? Gu Lingqing looked at her with burning eyes. Baiye blushed a little and skipped the topic. I'll go buy some breakfast. Gu Lingqing looked at her back as she left, and his eyes became deep. It seemed that it was a blessing in disguise for him. Baiye went to the cafeteria to get breakfast and found that she had lost her work card. Fortunately, there was a nurse she knew who was also getting breakfast, so she borrowed her card. She went back to Gu Lingqing's room. He was resting with his eyes closed, looking elegant, just like a noble prince. She walked in quietly. Gu Lingqing opened his eyes and looked at her. I didn't fall asleep. I'm hungry. Oh. She put the breakfast on the bedside table and saw that he was still reading the Russian book. Did Lieutenant Colonel Shang send it here so quickly? I put it in the car and asked him to bring it here first. He's going back to get my clothes now. Gu Lingqing explained patiently. Baiye blushed, squatted down in front of the bed, shook the bed and put down the board. In order to make him more comfortable, she pulled out his pillow. Because she was too close, her chest accidentally bumped into his hard chest. Gu Lingqing looked at her with burning eyes. If he had forced himself on her yesterday, would their relationship be different? He clearly remembered the feeling of kissing her, as if he was trapped in tenderness and didn't want to get out. Baiye, fall in love with me. Gu Lingqing said hoarsely. Her heart skipped a beat and she looked into his black eyes. There seemed to be a fire burning and jumping in the depths. She felt cramped and couldn't think. She wanted to wake up first. Gu Lingqing didn't let her retreat. He pressed his hand on her neck. The heat of his palm touched her skin, forcing her to look up. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.